Hokage Starting from the Instant Full Level, Chapter 301 to 320. Chapter 301, The Summoning of the Three Hokage. However, looking at the nine-tailed chakra floating in the sky now, Long Yu felt a little embarrassed. He doesn't have the proper ninjutsu to seal the tailed beast now. Immediately. Full grade. Long Yu's thoughts moved, and now the arrow was on the string and had to shoot, so he had to bite the bullet and go first. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. Ding dang, congratulations to the host's foreign golem for instant full-level success. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for acquiring the golem lock, is it right now? Instantly full. The image of the devil, Long Yu, raised his brows, and his pupils flashed with ecstasy. This golem lock is the dog chain known as the tailed beast. One catch is right. In the original book, Madara Uchiha faced the nine-tailed beast, and as soon as he made a move, he grabbed the bag and dragged the nine-tailed beast like a dead dog. Right now, this nine-tailed chakra has not yet been able to condense, and I don't know if the golem lock can come in handy. Immediately. Instantly full. With a thought, Long Yu gave an order directly. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. The ethereal voice of the system sounded again. The next moment, the long-awaited instruction sounded again. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, the lock of the golem, the instant full-level success. Information like a warm current quickly poured into Long Yu's mind. Long Yu opened his eyes again, looked at the nine-tailed chakra floating in the sky, flipped his right hand, and formed a magic seal. Roar! The magic seal fell, and the outsider golem let out a shrill roar. The big mouth of the blood basin suddenly slammed down, and a chain that was as black as ink turned into a drill and shot into the thin nine-tailed body in the void. Roar! The illusory nine-tailed figure let out a terrified cry, however, before everyone could react. The lock of the golem, like a sharp claw, suddenly pulled back, and the next moment swallowed it into the mouth of the outsider golem. Bang! The ferocious mouth closed with a bang. The head of a huge outsider golem, with 9 closed eyes, one of which was slightly opened, but looked a little pale. This scene, Long Yu was not surprised. In the original book, this 8-tailed bull ghost, in order to save Kurabi, broke an octopus leg and turned into a substitute to cross the sea. It was only discovered after the magic 9 dragons were sealed. This amount of chakra alone could not revive the outsider golem. Ding dang, is it immediately detected that the host has acquired 9-tailed chakra. Instantly full. The ethereal sound of the system suddenly appeared, making Long Yu's expression stagnate. It seems that this time, he really guessed right. Phew! Long Yu let out a deep breath and clenched his fists secretly. Immediately. Instantly full. Ding dong, please wait a moment, host. Ding dang, congratulations to the host, the 9-tailed chakra has achieved full level in an instant. The ethereal system sound resounded again. Of chakra quickly poured into Long Yu's body. Roar! A sharp, ear-piercing roar came from the mouth of the outsider golem. Of the 9 eyes that were originally closed suddenly opened, and a scarlet color appeared. Looking at this scene, Long Yu breathed a sigh of relief, and the magic seal in his hand was removed. The outsider golem, which had originally emerged from the rock formation, burrowed into the soil again. Looking at the outsider golem, it disappeared in front of him. The people present were relieved and slumped on the ground. It can be said that what happened today can definitely be said to be unforgettable in a lifetime. Teacher. Sarutobi Asma said hesitantly. Okay. I have finished what I have to do. The transformation technique on Long Yu dissipated like a cloud and finally revealed the prototype. He patted Asma and Dalu on the shoulders, looked around and said, "Don't leak this matter, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. You should know, who is the best at keeping secrets." The words fall, immediately. Let everyone in the field cover their mouths subconsciously and shake their heads again and again. Even the 3 big names nodded in agreement. Goodbye. Voice fell, Long Yu's 9-goose jade kaleidoscope writing wheel turned in vain, and the tyrannical spatial fluctuations filled the air. Space vortex emerged. Under the watchful eyes of the public, he stepped into it. Looking at this scene, everyone present, in relief, fell to the ground one after another, showing the expression of the rest of their lives. "You Asma, hurry up and help me up." Yuhuo Daming hurriedly shouted. Sarutobi Asma returned to his senses, rushed up quickly, and said nervously, "Master Dame, the teacher was offended just now, but he also disintegrated the assassination plot of Kazuma. Dame, can you not blame the teacher?" "Blame?" Yuhuo Daimyo said anxiously. "Who wants to start a war with such a terrifying guy? Uchiha Ryayu, doesn't he only want the tailed beast? Let Sarutobi, hurry up and give the tailed beast to Ryayu. Give the tailed beast to Long Yu." Sarutobi Asma and Jalu's expressions froze, their faces filled with disbelief. As people in the ninja world, they clearly know that Uchiha Ryayu provoked the war of the 5 major ninja villages, which is to go to the 9 big-tailed beasts. Moreover, the tail beast is the lifeblood of Shinobi Village, and it is one of the most important combat powers. However, now Daimyo threatens to give the 9 tails to Long Yu. Who would believe it if he hadn't heard it with his own ears? "Asma, what are you still doing? Hurry up and pass the message to Hokage in Konoha Ninja Village and tell him that this is the highest decision." Featherfire roared hysterically. In their eyes, the 9-tailed beasts are completely dispensable. After all, the 9-tailed beasts were only caught by Senju Hashirama after the establishment of Shinobi Village. Then sell it to other ninja villages, and eventually evolve into a tailed beast weapon. It can be said that, to a certain extent, the contradictions of the 5 major ninja villages are inspired, and many are built on the tailed beasts. "Don't hurry up!" Yuhuo Daimyo roared hoarsely at the end. "I know." Sarutobi Asma's expression was stagnant, and he hurriedly nodded and turned to flee. At the same time, since the 4th Ninja World War, the 5 great ninja villages are running fast like a war machine. A large number of ninjas were quickly assembled, and in the Gobi Desert not far from the Country of Fire, a large number of tent camps had already been set up to provide the ninjas of the various ninja villages gathered here with a chance to rest temporarily. The center of the camp, a huge tent was erected, and 5 shadow-level powerhouses representing the major ninja villages gathered in this place. "3 Hokage, why are you calling us in such a hurry?" Onogi raised his brows, and he was the first to speak. The rest of the people suddenly turned their eyes and locked on the body of the 3rd Hokage, a little impatient. In their eyes, the 5 ninja villages are now temporarily establishing an alliance. However, in the face of the unknown threat brought by Uchiha Longyu, they also need to prepare a lot of backhands to be able to deal with it with peace of mind. There was not much time left for them. However, now the 3 generations of Hokage are forcibly summoning them, which undoubtedly makes them feel uncomfortable. Chapter 302. Let Heiju join the alliance. Although, the 3 generations of Hokage are the proposers of this alliance, but if they really have to obey, their strength is obviously not enough. After all, every strong person who can become a shadow-level person is an unruly existence. It would be a total fart to make them obedient. Don't be impatient. Not long ago, you should have known about the runaway of the 9 tails. The 3 generations of Hokage raised their eyelids and said in a deep voice. Of the 4 shadows present at the 9 tails rampage changed slightly, and even their eyes suddenly became sharper. It can be said that this time the 4th Ninja War was held, and the battle for tail beasts was the key. Now the 9 tails are running wild at such a sensitive moment, which undoubtedly strained their nerves. What's more, Konoha Shinobi Village is the village of Uchiha Ryayu, which makes people smell a little tricky. 3 generations of Hokage, of course we have heard about this, but we are not clear about the details. 2 days, Onogi said in a deep voice. Are you going to tell us now? Is this related to Uchiha Ryayu? In other words, the 9 tails have been taken away, and your Konoha Shinobi Village intends to withdraw from this war. These words fell. Everyone's nerves were tense again, and their eyes turned around, locking on the body of the 3 generations of Hokage. After all, from the very beginning, the idea of the 3 generations of Hokage was to avoid a head-on conflict with Uchiha Ryu. Pity that the negotiation failed, and the pressure exerted by the 4 major ninja villages, as well as the powerful power possessed by the 9 tails, made it difficult for the Konoha ninja village to give up, and it would evolve into the convening of the 4th ninja war. However, if at this juncture, Konoha shinobi village lost the 9 tails, then the essence of the matter would change everything. No, you misunderstood. 3rd Hokage said in a deep voice, the 9-tailed rampage is indeed related to Long Yu. However, he helped us suppress the tailed beast. Suppression of tailed beasts. Onogi and the others suddenly changed their expressions, and the 3rd generation of Raikage was the first to lose his breath and said anxiously, Uchiha Ryu, didn't you take this opportunity to take the tailed beast away? No. The 3 generations of Hokage shook his head and said, the 9 tails ran wild that day, and with no one to suppress it, our Konoha ninja village was helpless. You should know that among the 9-tailed beasts, the 9 tails possess the largest amount of chakra. Once it successfully displays the tailed beast Jade, it can easily raise the ninja village to the ground. Speaking of this, the eyes of the 3 generations of Hokage swept across the field, and then said solemnly, it's just that such a powerful 9 tails, in front of Uchiha Ryu, can't resist the next look. You guys, after hearing this, do you still plan to continue to be enemies with Uchiha Ryu for the sake of the tail beast? The atmosphere of the scene suddenly changed. One look, the 9 tails were subdued. This kind of thing is in their recognition, but they have never expected it. At this juncture, they also believe that the 3 generations of Hokage will never lie. After all, for a ninja village, the anger of Chiba Longyu is enough to make people jealous, but the anger from the 4 major ninja villages should not be underestimated. It can be said that, to a certain extent, their 5 great ninja villages are now sitting on the same boat. 3 Hokage don't need to lie about this kind of thing. HMPH, the 3 generations of Hokage, the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, none of us have seen it before, the illusion of the Uchiha clan is very strong, but it is not impossible. There are ways to fight it. 3 generations of Raikage took the lead with a cold snort. What's more, as long as the tailed beast and the human pillar are compatible enough, once the human pillar or the tailed beast is under the illusion, anyone is willing to take action and disrupt the operation of the chakra. It is enough to break the illusion, so this battle, the human pillar's strength can also come in handy. As for, if someone says it can't be done, it means that you are not good enough. The slightly long-sounding voice sounded a little annoying. However, Onogi and the others nodded in agreement. They are all battle-hardened ninjas, and they are not a minority in the face of illusion and hypnotism. And in their eyes, the most powerful illusions of the Uchiha clan still rely on the gaze of their eyes. It is enough to deliberately avoid this. 3 generations of Hokage, you have also heard what Raikage meant. This battle cannot be retreated, otherwise other ninja villages will know that our 5 major ninja villages, in the face of a mere betrayal ninja, chose to surrender the tailed beast. Shame, how will our 5 great ninja villages continue to convince the public in the future? Luo Sha spoke coldly. If it is said that whoever has the most hatred with Long Yu in the field, he must be counted. Not long ago, what happened in Sand Ninja Village made his image of Kage plummet. Only thing that made him feel lucky was that Uchiha Ryu provoked the 4th ninja war with one blow, attracting everyone's attention. Otherwise, in the case of complaining, waiting for him, I am afraid that even Feng Ying's position will not be guaranteed. For Luo Sha, this battle must be fought. Okay, since everyone's idea has been decided, I won't persuade them anymore. 3rd Hokage sighed faintly and said, you only know that the 9 tails ran wild, but you don't know why he ran wild. Minato, come in and explain to them. These words fell. Namikaze Minato, who had already been guarding outside the door, flashed in like a ghost, and landed on the side of the 3 generations of Hokage. Everyone should be very clear about my identity. Minato Namikaze didn't hesitate at all, and said straight to the point. The Nine Tails ran wild that day because of a person who claimed to be Heiju. I believe that some of the shadows present have heard of this name. Yakura's expression changed slightly. Although this change was very small, the people present were all ghost-like beings, and these changes in expressions could not escape their eyes. It seems that the 4 generations of Shuiying adults have also been in contact with Heiju, so I will say it directly. Namikaze Minato did not evade suspicion, but directly pointed it out. Goji Tachibana Yakura's expression changed. He opened his mouth when he was about to speak, and finally remained silent. Seeing this, Minato Namikaze paused for a while, then continued. Everyone here should know very well that the Uzumaki family is proficient in sealing techniques, and our Konoha ninja village uses the people of the Uzumaki clan as the human pillar force, and the ability to imprison is strong. Even the Nine Tails can only keep themselves safe. However, Heiju has the ability to break through the seal and free the tailed beast. He made the Nine Tails riot. He once threatened that as long as we are willing to let him join the alliance of the 5 great ninja villages, we will be able to guide us. We will use a more powerful sealing technique to make people's pillars and tailed beasts more compatible and avoid runaways in battle. At the same time, he also brought us a man-made force of 100,000. A slightly long-sounding voice echoed in the tent. Chapter 303, 100,000 man-made troops. If it is said that the first half of the sentence did not arouse much interest in them, but the last sentence changed their expressions drastically. It can be said that the 5 major ninja villages experienced the Third Ninja War, and the losses on ninjas were 4 or 5 out of 10. For example, in Sand Ninja Village, it's almost a 50% discount. Now that the 4th Ninja War has started again, the 5 ninja villages of their 5 major ninja villages are only 5 or 6. 10,000, except for the little brats who are still studying. Now suddenly there is a black Jew, with a man-made force of 100,000. This was beyond their expectations. After all, this kind of existence is not an alliance, but a huge threat to their major ninja villages. Moreover, the 100,000 man-made troops were built silently under the eyes of their 5 major ninja villages, and it was beyond their knowledge. 100,000 man-made troops. Luo Sha took the lead and couldn't hold back his breath. He looked at Namikaze Minato and said, 4th Hokage, are you kidding me? It's a joke to cultivate 100,000 man-made troops under the eyes of our 5 major countries. Facing Luo Sha's doubts, the shadows present turned their gazes in vain, and locked onto the 4th Hokage. However, the first thing that catches the eye is a photo full of dense white figures. First glance, there was no end to the queue, and the faces of the 4 Luo Sha who were present suddenly turned ashen. What's the matter? You don't believe it, or you don't want me to join the ranks of dealing with Uchiha Ryu? A slightly playful voice sounded abruptly outside the tent. Of everyone present was instantly attracted. Looking at the yin and yang face of Heiju, in addition to Utaki Yakura, the expressions of the 3 generations of Hokage also changed slightly. Faced with this mysterious existence in front of him, who possessed 100,000 troops, and even the 5 great ninja villages were apprehensive, he couldn't help but cheer up. Heiju, I didn't expect you to hide so deeply. Tachibana Yakura was the first to speak. Not long ago, this person in front of me had cooperated with him. But at that time, in the eyes of Utaki Yakura, Heiju was at best just a conspirator with more conspiracy and tricks. Apart from the sealing technique that controls the tailed beast, there is absolutely nothing worthy of his attention. However, it appeared again now, but with a different identity. If it hadn't been seen with their own eyes, I'm afraid not many people would be willing to believe it. Hehe, the 4th generation of water shadows, didn't you take a fancy to the sealing technique of the tailed beast? Heiju smiled and looked at Goji Tachibana Yakura and said, now, I'll leave the sealing technique to you. Is this sincerity enough? These words fell, Heiju turned his right hand down, and an extra scroll appeared, which he threw directly on the table. The scroll flew down in midair and hit hard. The next moment, like a cloth, It was spread out on the table, and the seal was recorded in the temple, causing the pupils of many people in the field to shrink slightly. This is the ancient seal technique. Third Hokage was the first to speak, tensing everyone's nerves. In the face of this ancient sealing technique, the 3 generations of Hokage, known as the Professor of Konoha Ninjutsu, have enough right to speak. Hehe, I didn't expect that someone would be able to see the origin of this ninjutsu. Heiju smiled softly and said, "This is the magic dragon banning technique, which can further improve the connection between the tailed beast and the human pillar. Now my sincerity, you have also seen, then. You should give me an answer." Having said that, Heiju looked around the arena with great interest. "If this sealing technique can come in handy, I can agree to your joining." Rosa was the first to speak. When he thought of the internal and external troubles in Sand Ninja Village, he couldn't wait, and wanted to kill Uchiha Ryuga to transfer the pressure. "I can agree too." As soon as someone started, Yakura also joined in. 4 generations of Hokage who proposed this time, only the 4 generations of Raikage and the 2 days of Oyogi have not expressed their position. However, 100,000 man-made troops, coupled with the sealing technique that can make the connection between the tailed beast and the human pillar force more urgent. For the 5 big ninja villages that have just experienced the 3rd Ninja War, it is simply a sweet pastry. For a time, the 4th generation Raikage and the 2 days Ping Onogi, after looking at each other, nodded solemnly and said, "We also agree." When these words fell, Minato Namikaru's face was filled with joy, and before he could react, the 3 generations of Hokage took the lead and said, "Okay, since everyone has no opinion, then tomorrow the ninjas of our 5 countries will conduct the final assembly. I hope that you can minimize the damage, but you also can't lose this battle. Next, let's wait for the war to come." The old voice had an inexplicable solemnity at the end. In the face of Uchiha Ryu, who has not been able to figure out the details until now, the confidence in the hearts of the 3 generations of Hokage is still lacking. "Hey, the 3 generations of Hokage, don't say it if you are polite, let's copy this thing back and try it first." The 4th Raikage snorted coldly, took out a brand new scroll with his backhand, and after rubbing the seal technique, he turned around and left. Now that there is only 1 day left before the decisive battle, Kurabi already possesses the strength of the most perfect human pillar. However, the power that can be transformed between a tailed beast and a human is also judged by the human physique. If you can use this sealing technique to increase Kurabi's power to absorb the 8-tailed bull ghost, this is not a bad thing. The remaining 3 shadows obviously had the same idea as the 4th Raikage, and after branding the sealing technique one by one, they turned around and walked away quickly. For a time, in the huge tent, only 3 generations of Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and Juhei were left. "What's the matter, don't you want this scroll?" Heiju looked at Namikaze Minato and said, "If you can use this sealing technique effectively, then you don't have to worry about the tailed beast going berserk. It shouldn't hurt to give it a try." Spoke, Heiju grabbed the scroll with his right hand and threw it to Minato Namaifung. "If nothing happens, then I'll go back first, and see you in the decisive battle tomorrow." Those words behind, Heiju turned around and walked away. "Stop." 3 generations of Hokage said abruptly. "Heiju, I don't know, what kind of hatred do you have with Uchiha Longyu, let you make such a determination to seek our alliance? However, I want to remind you in advance that your methods and origins are hard to figure out, but I still have a lot of trump cards. I hope you don't make trouble at this juncture, otherwise don't blame me for not in the love of the alliance, I have shot you." The violent scene changed Namikaze Minato's expression slightly. Was skeptical about the blackness shrouded in mystery all over his body, Minato Namikaze. Chapter 304, It's All for You. However, under the premise of the alliance, he did not expect that the 3 generations of Hokage would have such great courage to say such cruel words. Haha, the 3 generations of Hokage, who has no trump card? Heiju laughed dryly and said, "However, don't worry, I won't mess around without killing Uchiha Ryu." Hopefully, we can succeed in this battle. Abandoning these words, this time Hei never hesitated. The body's chakra fluctuations flowed, and the whole body seemed to melt, burrowing into the soil under the feet. After Heiju completely disappeared without a trace, the third Hokage breathed a sigh of relief and sat down on the chair. 3 Hokage-sama, are you really going to use that trick? Namikaze Minato was the first to lose his temper and asked. As a member of Konoha Ninja Village, he certainly knew what trump cards were in the hands of the 3 generations of Hokage. I also hope that I don't need to use that trick, but if I have to, I can only take the risk. A dignified look on the face of the 3 generations of Hokage, and said, after all, what means Uchiha Longyu has, even I can't guess. What's more, that black absolutely, those who come are not good, and those who are good don't come, we still need to use multiple means to prepare. Have you collected enough of what I asked you to prepare? 3 generations of Hokage, don't worry, I am ready, and it meets the requirements of the operation. After the 4th Hokage was silent for a while, he took out a slightly larger scroll with his backhand and handed it to the 3rd Hokage. 3 generations of Hokage took the scroll, he felt the breath on the scroll, and nodded solemnly, yes, you have done a good job in this matter. The scroll in your hand, which records the sealing technique, may be of use to Kushina, so send it over first. Thank you for the 3 generations of Hokage-sama. Looked happy, clenched the scroll in his hand, turned and disappeared. Feeling the spatial fluctuations remaining in the air, the 3rd Hokage shook his head helplessly and sighed. Minato, this time the proposal to cooperate with Heiju seems to be largely due to Uzumaki Kushina's body. Haven't seen the wrong person once. Jiraiya, immortal big toad of Miaomu Mountain, do you have an answer? These words fell. Jiraiya, who was carrying a huge scroll, flashed out of the darkness of the tent. 3 generations of Hokage looked back, frowned, and said, is there any bad news? In the huge ninja world, there are 3 holy places for cultivating immortals. In Miaomu Mountain can be said to have the longest existence. According to Jiraiya's description, this giant toad immortal who has survived for thousands of years, but his mouth is closed, all thinking of the past. In particular, that sentence, I think that when I and 6 path immortals were called brothers and sisters. Teacher, I don't know if it's bad news or good news. Zilai also showed a bitter expression, and said, in the reply from the big toad immortal. The first time he met Long Yu, he was completely transparent. Right now, it's even more invisible. This one was disturbed by Uchiha Longyu, like a layer of veil blocking it. Having said that, Jiraiya also looked at the 3 generations of Hokage. If possible, immortal big toad, let us try to avoid fighting, otherwise it will be doomed. The ninja world will be doomed without a future. The 3rd Hokage couldn't help but be stunned. Faced with this kind of evaluation, he had never thought of it at all. Pity that the arrow is on the string, and he has to send it, and the current situation can no longer allow him to think too much. After the 3 generations of Hokage knocked on the table, he sighed faintly and said, okay, we can no longer retreat. Now I just hope that Uchiha Ryu can retreat, otherwise we can only use witch trick. These words fell. Jiraiya's expression changed slightly, and the words that finally reached his mouth were swallowed back in his stomach. At the same time, not far from the huge tent used for the Central Council, there was a heavily guarded tent. Namikaze Minato's ghostly appearance clearly alarmed the Anbu ninja stationed in the dark. However, after seeing the identity of Namikaze Minato, the Anbu ninja hiding in the dark did not do much, but let Namikaze Minato go in. PFF'd. The sound of breaking the air suddenly sounded along with the rolled-up door curtain. 2 pitch black and ink-like horses attacked the face of Namikaze Minato with a violent swipe-like attitude. The violent scene made Minato's expression change slightly. Before he could think about it, he took out a flying thunder god kunai with his backhand and threw it to the ground in front of him at will. The next moment, before the attack fell, the whole person disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Appeared again, had passed through the attack, and let 2-2 kunai shot through the tent and settled on the wooden post outside. 4th Hokage-sama, what happened? An Anbu ninja flashed out in the dark. Watching these 2-2 stunned and stuck on the wooden pillars of kunai, attacking the garrison of the Ninja Army Alliance, this is simply courting death. However, as soon as these words fell, a figure flashed out from another corner and stopped the nosy Anbu ninja. Don't meddle in your own business, it's the nine-tailed man who lives in the vortex Kushina. Can't you see her relationship with the 4th Hokage-sama? This, the slightly older Anbu said with a hint of apology, and said, Mazuman-sama, Sagi has just joined Anbu, and he will make mistakes if he doesn't know some things. However, don't worry about it. We won't ask what sound came out or what happened, and I hope the 4 generations of Hokage can forgive Sagi. After all, in their eyes, tomorrow will be a decisive battle with Konoha Rebellion and bloody Asura Uchiha Ryu. So who doesn't want to cherish it right now, the truth that a spring night is worth $1,000. The 2 Anbu ninjas, obviously thinking of the same juncture, invariably cast a glance at the WFC water gate, and then disappeared directly into the dark. Feeling the atmosphere in the arena, it suddenly changed. Minato Namaifung reluctantly touched the tip of his nose, looked at the scroll in his hand, and immediately followed the direction that Kuubao came from. The first thing that caught my eye was the vortex Kushina who was locked in the barrier. Why are you still here? Uzumaki Kushina said coldly, you should know that this kind of breaking 5, the enchantment can't stop me at all. I just felt that you actually cooperated with the guy who made the 9 tails in my body run wild. Are you crazy, Minato? That seemed a little long, but at the end, there was a hint of anger. Couldn't help his expression turning ashen, he clenched the scroll in Evil's hand, and said, Kushina, everything I do is for you. Uchiha Longyu's strength, you have seen it with your own eyes, but one look can suppress the 9 tails. If this kind of existence is only by ordinary means, there is no way to fight against him. Chapter 305, Apply Sealing. The only way is to join forces with the equally mysterious Heiju. At least, Heiju has given us a huge help, 100,000 man-made troops, and this sealing technique that enhances the control of the tailed beast. Everything I do is to strengthen our bargaining chip against Uchiha Ryu. Is this also wrong? Namikaze Minato, the hurried voice reverberated in the tent, and there was no way to disperse it for a long time. Torch-like eyes, staring at Uzumaki Kushina, as if eager to get her approval. Like a licking dog that had done something and was waiting for the owner's praise. However, the words that fell in his ear made this expression instantly stiff. No, what you are doing is for yourself. When Uchiha Longyu left, I told you not to have any dealings with Heiju. Uzumaki Kushina said anxiously. He also told me that he would not let me die, so you don't need to use me to make any excuses. I won't even want the broken scroll in your hand. After these words fell, the scene suddenly filled with an inexplicable depressing atmosphere. S' expression suddenly stiffened, his hand clenching the scroll, his phalanges turned white, a grim look flashed across his face, and he roared, Uchiha Ryu again, since you after meeting him for the first time, you kept talking about him. If you like him, you can run to be a traitor, and I don't need to do so many things for you. Said that, Minato Namikaze suddenly flipped his right hand, and the scroll was unrolled. Mysterious spells recorded in the scroll, the WFC Watergate is literally 10 lines at a glance. Famous genius like him in the history of Konoha Ninja Village, it takes only a few breaths to browse the ninjutsu recorded on this scroll. When the final surgical handprint fell in Minato Namikaze's eyes, his hands flew up without warning. The violent scene made Kushina's expression suddenly change. However, she has a way to break through the barrier, but under the premise, it still takes time. However, the current speed of Namaifung Minato's spells is obviously faster than her breaking through the barrier. When the last magic seal fell, Minato had a ferocious look on his face, and roared, everything I do is for you. The sealing technique illusory dragon is banned. Bang! 5 fingers suddenly slapped the scroll, and at the moment when the mysterious magic seal spread quickly, an illusory dragon quickly rose into the air. The next moment, before Uzumaki Kushina could react, he drilled into her body directly. The violent scene made Uzumaki Kushina's expression suddenly change, feeling the 9 tails in her body, and at this moment, it seemed that she was bound tightly together, and her expression changed suddenly. Past, the relationship between her and Kyubi was a feeling that water does not violate seawater. 9 tails are only the resident of her body, she is the key to the controller. However, the moment this strange sealing technique entered her body, the originally weak connection was instantly established. It feels like a smooth passage of meridians. Girl, what happened? Why can't the chakra in my body be freely controlled? Did you break the agreement between us? In the dark consciousness space, Juwei's eyes suddenly opened, and an inexplicable and fierce aura exploded like a frenzy. However, this burst of breath quickly changed the consciousness space. That green gleaming. Like a blood vessel, the sealing spell pierced into the body of the 9 tails quickly absorbed the power emanating from the tailed beast and poured it into the body of Vortex Kushina. Feeling this rapidly growing and expanding chakra, Vortex Kushina's expression changed dramatically. Girl, what the hell is going on? If you don't give me an explanation, you'll blame me for being rude. Feeling the detonating aura in his body, he was devoured and plundered by a whale. This was the first time Kuo had encountered this situation. After all, there are only 2 ways for Renjuli to obtain the power of the tailed beast. First, unlock the seal, let the power leak out of the body, and use the erosion of the tailed beast chakra to achieve the effect of borrowing. It can be said that this is most of the way that human Zuli uses the tailed beast chakra. The second is to get the approval of the tailed beast like Kurabi, and become a perfect human pillar force. However, Uzumaki Kushina and 9 tails obviously haven't reached this kind of relationship yet. I was forcibly put a seal into my body just now. I haven't figured it out yet. Please be patient. Our agreement is still valid. Uzumaki Kushina explained anxiously. Please leave this matter to me, and I will give you a proper explanation. The face of these words, the 9-tailed round blood-colored pupils turned slightly, and the tailed beast chakra that erupted in the end was quickly retracted, and the penetrating pupils closed up, saying, "Okay, look at that guys, for my sake, I trust you once. But don't forget what I reminded you of yesterday, but don't get me involved." Gradually dissipating, the words annihilated in the consciousness space, and the figure of the 9 tails, let Uzumaki Kushina secretly relieved. Why Kyubi took the initiative to contact her yesterday, she couldn't help being shaken. According to the 9 tails, it has a momentary feeling, as if being caught. Then, there's an illusion of overlap. As if this world suddenly had another self. If you want to reason in this direction, the first person that 9 tails think of is not Heiju, but Uchiha Ryayu. It is for this reason that it reached an agreement with Uzumaki Kushina. Kushina, how do you feel? Have you strengthened your control over the 9 tails? Who opened his eyes, and with a hurried look, he stepped closer. However, as soon as this face got close, before Minato Naikamo could react, his slender hands whistled and fanned directly towards his face. Look at the slap that rapidly dilates in the pupils. At this moment, Namikaze Minato was stunned in place. In the face of this slap from the hula, the yellow flash of Konoha is also useless. Clap! The crisp slaps echoed in the tent like thunder, and the burning sensation made Minato Naikaze bewildered. Subconsciously covering his cheeks, he hurriedly asked, "Kushina, you hit me. What if I hit you? I'm going to kick you." Kushina roared angrily. Her red hair was moving without the wind, and the title of Konoha Red Pepper was not in name only. The muscles of his right foot tightened suddenly, and he flew straight towards Minato. "Who asked you to put a seal on me at will, and quickly untie it for me, or I will kick you to death." Chapter 306, Gathering. How dare you hide? My mother has to kill you today. A series of noisy voices echoed in the tent. Who were guarding outside and deliberately distanced themselves, looked at each other subconsciously, and showed such an expression on their faces. The two didn't have any verbal communication, and there was no hesitation at all. With a flick of the figure, they pulled a little further away. A spring night is worth $1,000. At least, in their eyes, what happened in this tent was too violent. The early morning sun is like broken gold, swaying on the entire Gobi beach. An inexplicable and oppressive atmosphere permeated the air, like an invisible big hand, clenching people's hearts. On the huge Gobi Desert, tens of thousands of people gathered here. The shadow-level powerhouse headed by him stood on the cliff with a solemn expression, overlooking the phalanx that gradually gathered below. Of the villages followed closely behind the shadow level, and the solemn expressions on their faces were like straws pressing on everyone's heart. It can be said that the attitude of any strong man is the confidence and determination of the Alliance Army. The crowd of shadow-level powerhouses present looked at each other. The three generations of Hokage took the lead to stand out, and the turbid pupils could not help but sharpen like a torch, and immediately said loudly, "Okay, everyone gathered here today, which means that they have made up their minds to maintain the glory of our 5 great ninja villages. However, this battle involves life and death. In the face of Uchiha Ryu, we don't know what cards he has, and what means." Speaking of this, the 4th generation of Reikage stood out with a solemn expression, and a thunderous voice suddenly sounded. "The 3 generations of Hokage are right, but our 5 big ninja villages can stand for 100 years in the ninja world, and they also have their own heritage. Now Uchiha Ryu, privately hunting tailed beasts, and openly declaring war on our 5 great ninja villages, this is a shame for our 5 great ninja villages. So, today, we gathered here to wash away this shame, to pin Uchiha Longyu on this Gobi Desert, and let him know clearly that the majesty of our 5 great ninja villages cannot be violated." The slightly elusive voice rolled backwards like thunder, and the calmness mixed with it hit the depths of everyone's soul. "Yes, Lord Reikage of the 4th generation is right, this is a battle to wash away the shame of the 5 great ninja villages. In this battle, we absolutely have no turning back. We will definitely be able to defeat Uchiha Ryu. How could a mere rebellious ninja be the opponent of our 5 major ninja villages? We can drown him by spitting out a mouthful of saliva." Scene suddenly boiled, facing the thunderous words of the 4 generations of Reikage, obviously stirring up the fighting spirit in their hearts. Seeing this scene, the 4th generation of Reikage flashed a trace of satisfaction on his face, and immediately raised his big hand up and continued to roar loudly. "We can only win this battle. Let Uchiha Ryu completely defeat the Gobi, and he will become the hero of every village. What awaits you will be the cheers of your triumphant return. We will win the battle. We will win the battle." Tens of thousands of people shouted in an instant, bringing the feeling of shaking the ground and shaking the whole Gobi Desert, and shivered. Seeing a few words, the 4th Reikage pushed up the atmosphere in the arena. The elites of every village who followed them, many people had different expressions. Especially those who have seen Uchiha Ryu's shot, the eyes flashed in the depths of their pupils. "Hee, it seems that the morale of your 5 great ninja villages is really strong. Shang, it's really unexpected." A black voice suddenly sounded. Soon I saw that the soil not far away turned outwards, and a figure emerged like a ghost. Seeing this sudden yin and yang face, the ninjas in the field couldn't help but stagnate, and all of them looked at the shadows. After all, their 5 great ninja villages have been fighting each other for many years. For their respective ninja villages, I still know a little bit about the existence of strong people. However, the guy with the yin and yang face in front of him obviously gave people a strange feeling. "Heiju, you are finally here." Namikaze Minato was the first to speak. A hint of playfulness on Heiju's face, and he was about to say something. That caught my eye was a fat face that was bruised and purple. Looking at this scene, Heiju's expression froze. "And see you tonight, what happened?" HMPH, it's only now, I thought you flinched. Fourth Raikage's face sank, and he said coldly. Facing the words that were obviously mixed with hostility, Heiju did not take it to heart, smiled playfully, and said, it seems that witch sealing technique has also satisfied the fourth generation of Raikage, otherwise what is waiting for me now is not bad words, but a violent punch. The people present also felt the same way about the character of the fourth Raikage. It can be said that no matter Generation Raikage who was beheaded by Uchiha Ryu, or the fourth generation Raikage, the characters are both vigorous and resolute. It is precisely because of the action style that the action is not in line with each other, which makes the major ninja villages have a headache. However, as Heiju said, the current attitude of the fourth Raikage, from a side view, uses that sealing technique. HMPH, Heiju, you're talking a lot of nonsense. Are you here to fight, or to talk shit? The fourth Raikage snorted coldly. Didn't you say that there are 100,000 man-made troops? You're the only one now, so you won't be talking in vernacular without a reason. If so, I wouldn't mind twisting your head off. These words fell, the crackling arc of thunder suddenly skyrocketed on the body of the fourth Raikage. The tyrannical aura exploded like a frenzy and rolled back around. However, in the face of all this, Heiju's expression remained the same. He looked at the fourth Raikage with a playful smile, and snapped his fingers with his right hand. Fourth generation, be careful. A sudden cry came up. Everyone's expressions suddenly changed. Soon I saw the soil behind the fourth Raikage, and it was quickly pierced. A pale figure emerged directly from the ground and turned into a figure like an iron tower. Roar! A furious roar resounded suddenly. Under a pair of tearful eyes, he raised his big hand like a grinding disc and smashed it straight at the fourth Raikage. The violent blow instantly tensed everyone's nerves. The attack that smashed down with force brought a stern sound of breaking through the air, and it was even more incessant. In this close distance, it gives people a feeling that there is no way to hide. You bastard, give me death. The fourth Raikage's expression sank, and the moment when the anger roared. He has already entered the Lei-Dun chakra mode, and the speed of the explosion is not familiar to the naked eye at all. Facing the giant fist that was smashed, he just raised his hand to block at will, and the thunder light was wrapped around it, turning into a thunder light, and smashing straight towards Baiju's abdomen. Bang! Chapter 307, 100,000 Soldiers with IQ. A thunderous crashing sound resounded. The expressions of everyone in the arena suddenly changed, and the tower-like body flew straight out. With the sound of a thunderous collision, the huge body smashed heavily on the cliff dozens of meters away. The huge impact made the seemingly indestructible cliffs burst open. Baiju's abdomen collapsed directly, forming a huge hole. The violent scene changed the expressions of everyone in the arena. They never imagined that at this juncture, the so-called alliance would be violent. Fourth Raikage's face sank. He looked at Heiju angrily, and said sharply, Heiju, what do you mean? If you want to assassinate me, can't you use some means that can be put on the table? As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes were locked on Heiju's body. 100,000 man-made troops. This is more than the ninja army they assembled here. If this force is transferred, it will affect the entire battle situation. For a while, the atmosphere in the field changed. Hehe, the fourth Raikage, you are as impulsive as the rumors say. Facing so many gazes, Heihuiwei laughed and said, I'm just showing you whether my 100,000 troops are qualified to be on an equal footing with your 5 great ninja villages. Sit on an equal footing. Fourth Raikage snorted coldly, that kind of chop, I can kill one with one punch. If it's only this level, then don't be ashamed. Fall of these words undoubtedly aggravated the depressing atmosphere in the field. 3 generations of Hokage and the others couldn't help but let out a wry smile. For the violent scene in front of them, it can be said that it is beyond their cognition. Moreover, the strength of the 4th generation of Raikage also made them unexpected. In case, it really forced Heiju's power back. 100,000 man-made troops are also a disaster for them. Hee, the fourth Raikage, we are allies, everyone's goal is Uchiha Ryu, I would not do such a stupid thing. Darkness laughed out loud. You just said that my subordinates are just chops. You can look back now. Roar. A low roar, as if in response to Heiju's words. Originally smashed and flew, it was pierced through the abdomen, like an iron tower. Baiju rushed out like a tiger and a leopard. Of tens of meters is just a few breaths. The tower-like Baiju came to the fourth Raikage again, his hands clenched suddenly, like a war hammer, and he slashed head-on. The violent scene suddenly changed the expressions of everyone in the arena. In their eyes, even the abdomen is covered, and the one who should die can no longer die. However, the scene in front of them was beyond their understanding. The fourth generation Raikage's expression also changed slightly. This time, he didn't make a move, and the lightning on his body skyrocketed like a frenzy. The next moment, like a ghost, he preemptively disappeared into place out of thin air. Boom! The combined hands hit the ground like a war hammer. The huge impact force made the solid rock ground shatter. However, after this shot down, the huge body of Baiju, like an iron tower, did not continue to pursue. Stunned, standing in place, looking fierce, and looked around. The belly that had been penetrated, the white flesh and blood rolled quickly and healed under the watchful eyes of the public. The strange scene made everyone in the field look slightly changed. Facing the fourth Raikage who is proficient in ninjutsu. It can be said that the ninjas present, including the shadow-level powerhouses, were not confident enough to take a punch like the 4th-generation Thunder Shadow Thunder. However, the so-called man-made weapon in front of him had nothing to do with it after suffering the blow. This is beyond their comprehension. If Heiju said, the 100,000 man-made troops possess this so-called immortality, would be a nightmare for any ninja village. Hee, you should have seen that the miscellaneous soldiers in the mouth of the fourth generation of Raikage, my 100,000 man-made troops, have an alternative immortal body. Looking at the different expressions of everyone, Heiju smiled playfully. If I tell you, they can still perform ninjutsu. Can also perform ninjutsu. Everyone present, regardless of. It was Luo Sha and the others, and even the fourth Raikage's expression suddenly changed. The immortality has already made people feel hopeless. If you can still perform ninjutsu, the level of difficulty is definitely not in the Chunin, or even under the Super Ninja. This man-made force should only obey a single combat order. Sandai Hokage suddenly spoke up. These words fell, the expressions of the ninjas present changed slightly, and some people secretly breathed a sigh of relief. These Baiju possess immortality and no ninjutsu, which makes people feel terrifying indeed. But without intelligence, that's another story. Matter how powerful it is, it can only be reduced to a beast. As long as they cooperate properly, it is not difficult to deal with Baiju. HMPH, you guessed the third Hokage wrong. Heiju's face sank. However, this Baiju is in my army of 100,000, and he is only in the middle class. Some Baiju in the upper class have a will comparable to that of human beings, and they are enough to command these armies. He played in this way, all for his own sake, and then he took the initiative in the next action. I never thought that the 3 generations of Hokage would see through so quickly. Originally, he planned to hide this as a backup to deal with the war situation. Also possess intelligence. The fourth Raikage's expression changed slightly. The rest of the shadow-level powerhouses are no exception. A pig that raises 100,000 pigs is a completely different definition than having a lineup that can command 100,000 pigs. Seeing that the atmosphere in the arena changed again, the smile on Heiju's face became even greater. Playful smile, he said, don't worry, we are allies and have a common enemy, Uchiha Longyu. So, you don't need to be so nervous about me at all. Speaking of which, Heiju took out a quaint scroll, which was already covered with dust, and said with a dry smile, let's stop talking nonsense, to prevent Uchiha Ryu from taking advantage of the situation and taking us by surprise. Now let me wake up first. I am an army of 100,000 people, everyone will go to meet them and enter the battlefield. The awe-inspiring voice came out of Heiju's mouth. On such occasions, as long as he raised his hands a little and laughed loudly, he would definitely exude a behind-the-scenes smell all over his body. Everyone could react, the hands quickly flipped, and the ancient scrolls spread out on the ground. After forming a series of spells, they suddenly pressed towards the ground. Bang! A low burst of air suddenly sounded, and at the same time the mysterious magic seal spread quickly. Chapter 308, Lost Contact. Under the laser beams of aura, the smile on Heiju's face suddenly stiffened. The next moment, before everyone could react, Heiju shook his head and exclaimed, "It's impossible, it's impossible. How can I not connect with them? What the hell is going on?" The whispering voice, at the end, was mixed with a smell like crazy, echoing in this world, and there was no way to disperse it for a long time. The sudden scene shocked everyone in the field. In their eyes, Heiju from the previous moment was still in high spirits. Now it feels like a madman who has lost his beloved toy. "Heiju, what happened? You just said, where is the awakened army?" The fourth Hokage took the lead in exclaiming anxiously. "Things go wrong, there must be demons. At this juncture, anything that can weaken the strength of their alliance." "That's all bad news. Shut up." Heiju roared and said, "I have lost contact with my army, this is absolutely impossible. Except for a limited number of people such as Namikaze Minato, absolutely no one knows where my army is." The hysterical voice, like an invisible big hand, suddenly clenched everyone's heart. The people present, before they could react, saw urgency on Heiju's face. Before he had time to think about it, he just pulled away and stormed off into the distance. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves, and even the expressions of the shadow-level powerhouses present changed drastically. After seeing with his own eyes the perverted methods that Baiju possesses. For their 5 major ninja villages, this artificial force is the best cannon fodder to deal with Uchiha Ryu. It is also the best way to reduce the loss of their ninja village. After all, after the Third Ninja World War, their own strength has been weakened a lot. The ninja village is even more wasteful. If it is, it will experience the Fourth Ninja World War that follows one after another. Those who are waiting for the 5 great ninja villages are probably severely injured. It is for these many reasons. Only when the 4th Hokage Wave Feng Minato proposed that Heiju join, everyone would reluctantly accept it. However, the scene in front of them now far exceeded their expectations. Who would believe it if you didn't see it with your own eyes? At this juncture, the 100,000 man-made troops would suddenly lose contact with Heiju. 3 Hokage, what are we doing now? The 4th Hokage took the lead in speaking in a deep voice. As the initiator of the 5 Ninja Village Alliance, the 3 generations of Hokage don't care. Or just say a word, everyone has the absolute right to speak. For a time, the eyes of everyone in the field turned and locked on the body of the 3rd Hokage. Feeling the change in the atmosphere in the arena, Hokage's expression darkened, and he said in a deep voice, "Everyone, I think everyone has the answer in their hearts. However, based on my knowledge of Heiju, he just loved his face and planned to give us a slap in the face. With this style of behavior, he should not lose the chain at this juncture. So, there must be something wrong with his 100,000 Baiju army." Having said that, the 3 generations of Hokage looked around the field and said solemnly, "We now have 2 choices. First, follow Heiju to the place where the 100,000 Baiju army is hidden, but the premise is that we all act together to avoid Heiju's deceit and lead us to break them one by one. Second, we stop cooperating with the Heiju allies, regardless of what happens to his 100,000 Baiju army, we will deal with it alone. However, we have to keep an eye on it. In case there is no accident in the army of 100,000 Baiju, our decision will probably push Heiju to the side of Uchiha Longyu. Before facing Uchiha Longyu, who is unclear about the details, I am afraid that you will have to fight the backlash of 100,000 Baiju, so I hope you can choose carefully. The slightly long-sounding voice reverberated in the sky, and there was no way to dissipate it for a long time. Looking around the audience, in addition to the 3 generations of Hokage where the old god was present, the remaining 4 shadow-level powerhouses also had a change in expressions on their faces. After a short while, the 4 shadow-level powerhouses looked at each other and said in unison, "Uchiha Ryu hasn't appeared yet, let's go and have a look." As soon as the words come out, immediately, the tens of thousands of ninja army waiting below nodded in agreement. Facing a Uchiha Ryu has already caused them huge psychological pressure. Now that there are 100,000 white monsters, if they become their own enemies, no one is willing to accept this huge gap. Okay, then we'll do it right away. Let's go. Seeing this, the 3 generations of Hokage suddenly waved their big hands and gave orders in a deep voice. Voice fell, and the 6 shadow-level powerhouses present rushed out first. Immediately behind them, there are the most elite fighting forces in the major ninja villages. When they crossed the cliff and landed in the desert, tens of thousands of ninja coalition forces were directly bombed. As dense as locusts, they converged into a torrent, chasing straight away. Tens of thousands marched, giving people an inexplicable depressing atmosphere. But the 5 ninja villages act together, and at any time, it is an unbelievable scene. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, who would have believed that the 5 great ninja villages, which had always been in war and strife, would have come to this point in order to fight against the rebellion of a Konoha ninja village? Heiju's aura is not as hidden as before. There are a lot of chakra fluctuations in the air. It seems that he is very anxious and should be able to catch up. Yamanaka Kaiichi, who was next to the 3rd Hokage, suddenly opened his tightly closed eyes and looked in the direction Heiju left. As one of the top 10 ninja tribes in Konoha Ninja Village, Yamanaka Kaiichi has enough right to speak. Let's speed up our pace. It seems that something really happened to the 100,000 strong army of Heiju. 3 generations of Hokage's expression sank, and he gave the order again. The large army of tens of thousands of people, the speed of the march has accelerated again. Only thing fortunate is that this time the battlefield was chosen in the Gobi. Otherwise, tens of thousands of people are walking through the forest, and everyone steps on the branches of the trees, and I am afraid that everyone will fall without falling. The torrent of tens of thousands of people hurried on the road for 20 or 30 minutes, and after crossing 20 or 30 miles, Yamanaka Kaiichi's tightly closed eyes opened again. Heiju's breath stopped 2 miles ahead, but his position seems to be a little deep. Yamanaka Kai frowned and said in confusion. Location is a bit deep. The look of the 3 generations of Hokage also changed slightly. However, before he could speak, the 4th Raikage snorted coldly. Hey, he wants to hide 100,000 man-made army under the eyes of our 5 major ninja villages. If it wasn't underground, we would have already discovered it. The relationship between the 5 ninja villages has been unstable. It is for this reason that everyone's eyeliners are definitely not few in the country of fire. A1 Sesame may not be able to detect it, but if an army of 100,000 man-made people really appeared on the earth, it would be a blind man. Chapter 309, Destroy the Black Army. Otherwise, it would be strange not to know. However, this idea just sprouted in their minds, and the next moment crossed the rock forest in front of them. The first scene that came into view was like an invisible heavy hammer, hitting everyone's nerves. Looking at the scene in front of me, I almost split my eyes. If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. But it can definitely be called a big demon. On the huge Gobi Desert, an indescribable depressing atmosphere clenched everyone's heart like an invisible big hand. Looking at the front, it is as shocking as a cliff and abyss. A diameter of 4 or 5 kilometers, there are deep craters of meteorites, and the corpses of Baiju are lying on the edge. The black flames wrapped around his body radiated heat that made his spine sweat. Baiju, who is known to have the body of immortality, in this raging black flame, except for the howling and hissing sound. It can only struggle and crawl through the abyss-like ruins. The so-called immortal body, under the black flame, obviously has a kind of feeling, pale and powerless. No matter how they rolled and rolled on the ground, the black flames on their bodies showed no sign of going out at all. The burning speed gave people a feeling like maggots on toe bones, and in just a few tens of seconds, the huge body like an iron tower was burned to ashes. Who witnessed this scene turned even paler. It was like an invisible big hand clenching the heart tightly. Who, come out quickly. Black Jew growled hysterically. The round eyes were almost split, looking around the huge ruins, wishing to dig 3 feet directly to find the person. Facing Heiju's madness, the people present couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. The 100,000 black man-made army, if they were really killed. That was simply heart-wrenching. The black inextinguishable flame, only Uchiha Longyu can display it. He won't find this place in advance and kill all the 100,000 black army. Jiraiya's voice suddenly sounded, instantly tense everyone's nerves. Facing this scene in front of them, the shadow of Uchiha Ryu also appeared in the hearts of many people. However, no one dared to jump to conclusions. After all, the scene in front of him was too shocking. The 100,000 strong black army has immortality, ninjutsu, and very few people have an intelligence quotient comparable to that of humans. Such a powerful man-made, it is in existence that even their 5 great ninja villages are afraid of. However, the place where this black army was hiding was turned into an abyss. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, who would believe it was true? Uchiha Ryu, get out of here, I'm going to kill you. Heiju was stunned at first, and then hysterically roared. In his eyes, Baiju's real hiding place, but even Uchiha Madara doesn't know. However, now it has been destroyed without anyone knowing it, which is beyond his plan. Are you looking for me? An indifferent voice came softly, shaking everyone's nerves. The eyes of tens of thousands of pairs of people in the audience turned and followed the sound. The first thing that caught my eye was a thin figure that appeared like a ghost on the huge meteorite. That breezy and cloudless attitude, and the auspicious cloud robes with a black and red background, that's silk dust. The unstained posture is simply a feeling of stunned. In their eyes, killing a strong and immortal Baiju also has the heart to fight to the death. However, if the person in front of him really relied on his own strength, he would kill 100,000 black absolutes. The robe on that body can still be spotless. It was a nightmare for them. Let me ask among them, the coalition forces of the 5 great ninja villages, according to incomplete statistics, only have more than 50,000 people. Compared with the so-called man-made black army, it is almost a bit less. If, even 100,000 man-made Baiju army, is not the opponent of Uchiha Longyu, then are they still going to die? Chaotic thoughts flashed in their minds. Everyone's eyes subconsciously looked at the 6 shadow-level powerhouses. 3 generations of Hokage-sama, one of the 12 guardian ninjas, Sarutobi Asuma, urgently communicated on behalf of Yuhuo Daimyo. A hurried shout came from a distance. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. Looking at the sound, he was the first to catch his eye, and there were 2 figures rushing to the scene. Among them, the one who fell behind was Asuma Sarubi, a tired and dusty-looking. After all, unlike Uchiha Raiha, Sarutobi Asuma doesn't know time and space ninjutsu. Looking at the 3 generations of Hokage in this scene, his face sank involuntarily. This is where the army of the 5 great ninja village alliance is located. Under the watchful eyes of all the people, Sarutobi Hizen, who is his son, rushed over in such a panic, which obviously hurt the face of Konoha Ninja Village. Thinking of this, the face of the 3 generations of Hokage sank, and he shouted sharply, Asuma Sarutobi, there is something panicking. If there is nothing important, then wait for the triumphant return of our 5 major Ninja Village Alliance forces, let's talk in detail. Voice fell, and the turbid old eyes of the 3 generations of Hokage lit up like torches. After looking at each other with the other 4 shadow-level powerhouses, they were about to speak. He saw Namikaze Minato beside him, disappearing in place like a ghost. Appeared again, and has come to a place not far from Tsurubi Asuma. Asuma, is the daimyo planning to cheer us up? I'll take you to the 3 generations of Hokage. As soon as Namikaze Minato came to Tsurubi Asuma's side. Before he could react, Namikaze Minato grabbed Asuma's shoulder with his right hand, and the moment he squeezed the Flying Thunder God seal in his hand, it disappeared like a ghost. When he appeared again, Sarutobi Asuma had come to the side of the 3rd Hokage. In the face of Namikaze Minato's unauthorized actions, the 3 generations of Hokage frowned, appearing slightly displeased, but did not hold him accountable. The face of Sarutobi Shinosuke, who is known as one of the 8 colors of Konoha, this younger brother, Asuma Sarutobi, who is fluent in life, obviously makes the 3 generations of Hokage a little unwelcome. Who was out of breath as he ran back all the way, a trace of impatience flashed on the face of the 3 Hokage, and he said in a deep voice, Asuma, we have all heard daimyo's encouraging words. If you have nothing to do, step aside first. Speaking, the 3rd Hokage waved his hand casually, and then turned to look at the 4th Raikage. However, just as this scene appeared, a sharp knife sound resounded suddenly. The snow-white cold light is like a drill, and it is forbidden to swept away from the throat of the 3 generations of Hokage. The unexpected action instantly tensed everyone's nerves. Although most of the people present did not know the bad relationship between the 3 generations of Hokage and Sarutobi Asuma. Chapter 310, Human Sacrifice Forbidden Technique. But this son's stance against Leodu was completely unexpected. To mention Jiraiya and Namikaze Minato, even the 3 generations of Hokage are no exception. For a time, everyone's eyes were locked on the body of the 3rd Hokage, showing a look of confusion. Only Uchiha Ryayu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose. The famous feathered flame still couldn't hold back and got involved in this matter. The violent stance made the expressions of everyone present, including several shadow-level powerhouses, change suddenly. The 3 generations of Hokage felt the chakra hand knife on the neck, and his face was gloomy to the extreme. If it weren't for the fact that he was in the public eye, he would have slapped this disdainful son to the ground with one palm. Resisting the anger in his heart, the 3 generations of Hokage gritted his teeth and said, Asuma Tsurubi, do you know what you are doing? Only by this one act, I can designate you as a traitor. If you don't give me a reasonable answer today, I will ban you in public. The stern voice, when it came to the end, had a taste of decisiveness. A smell of slaughter, before the war with Uchiha Ryayu, permeated the 5 great ninja village alliances. For a time, everyone's eyes were fixed on Asuma Tsurubi. There was also a hint of apology on Namikaze Minato's face, if he had known that things would turn out to this extent. He would not use Sarutobi Asuma to perform the Flying Thunder God technique. Once something happens, no matter what. Conclusion is, he can't get rid of the relationship. Father, for the sake of Konoha Shinobi Village, I have to do this, otherwise you won't listen to me at all. A trace of apology flashed across Asuma Tsurubi's face. The chakra knife held in the right hand did not move away, and the left hand turned over at the waist to take out a scroll. Dad, this is a joint decision of the 3 big names to hand over the 9 tails to Uchiha Ryayu and withdraw from the battle of the 5 Ninja Village Alliance. If you insist on going your own way, you will destroy the hard work of Hokage in all dynasties. Sarutobi Asuma said in a hurry. A small voice, at this moment, swept the audience like a hurricane. Looking at the scroll unfolded in Sarutobi Asuma's hand, after the magic seal on it was unwound, 333 uniquely belonged to the 3 daimyo of the country of fire, representing the seal of identity. Of the above book is exactly the same as what Tsurubi Asuma said. The violent scene made everyone look stunned. Some even swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The relationship between the 5 great ninja villages and the 5 great nations seems to be dependent. However, if it is really investigated, the major ninja villages, in addition to the inheritance of shadow-level powerhouses, need the approval of the daimyo. At other times, the filmmakers have the right to make decisions about everything in the village. And, in this wartime situation, this kind of autonomy can also be implemented at any time without passing the daimyo to deal with any disaster that threatens the country and the ninja village. It can be said that in the face of the war game, Wying is the spokesperson. However, now the three great names in the Country of Fire have jointly issued an order to let Konoha Shinobi give up the Nine Tails and withdraw from the war against Uchiha Ryu. This is undoubtedly beyond everyone's expectations. Asma Tsurubi, do you know what nonsense you are talking about? Face of the three generations of Hokage sank, and the anger roared. His right hand abruptly looked up, and with a lightning-fast gesture, he snatched the chakra gauntlet from Asma Tsurutobi's hand. The next moment, castration. Undiminished, cut off the daimyo oracle in the hands of Tsurutobi Asma. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves again. This is an oral oracle from the daimyo, let's not talk about its authenticity. However, if this matter reaches the ears of the daimyo, it will damage the trust of the daimyo of the Land of Fire in the Konoha Shinobi village. Dang! A black cold light, like a horse, shot out without warning. One step ahead, bumped into the chakra gauntlet in the hands of the third Hokage. Sparks splashed, and the huge impact force made the gauntlet fly out of his hand, and finally slanted into the ground not far away. As for Kunai, who rushed in first, he cut through the scroll in Tsurubi Asma's hand and stuck it directly on the ground behind him. Looking at this sudden scene, not to mention the three generations of Hokage and others, even Asma Tsurubi could not help but froze in place. After all, the person who shot just now was Uchiha Ryu, who provoked the war. Lord Longyu, what are you doing? This is an oral decree from the daimyo, don't you want nine tails? Tsurutobi Asma was the first to lose his temper and asked anxiously. The eyes of the people present were also fixed on Longyu. At this moment, everyone's thoughts were the same as Tsurubi Asma. As long as you are not a fool, you can know that this decree is beneficial to Uchiha Ryu. If you win without fighting, you will be able to get the nine tails of Konoha Ninja Village. I wonder who doesn't want to. Hee, you don't want to participate in this kind of mother-in-law's affairs. Longyu laughed dryly and said, that Yuhuo is also nosy. When he says what I like, he grabs it with his hands. Three generations of Hokage, don't be stunned. You will be subject to the orders of foreign troops. I want to see your determination in this battle and your cards. Voice fell, and Longyu's eyes turned in vain, locking on the body of the three generations of Hokage. Faced with this provocation from Kai Guago, the expressions of the people present suddenly changed, and before they could think about it, the awe-inspiring voice of the three generations of Hokage could be heard in their ears. Okay, a good sentence will be subject to foreign military orders. The three generations of Hokage said okay twice in a row, then suddenly clenched his right hand and said sharply. I have read countless people in my life, and I never thought I would overlook you. The courage you possess is truly beyond the comparison of ordinary people. Having said that, the three generations of Hokage looked around the field and continued to say sharply, this time, our 5 ninja villages are gathered here, and we have already held the heart of a deadly fight. I don't know how you killed 100,000 white Jew, but since you came out of our Konoha ninja village, as the third Hokage, I have an irresponsible responsibility. Although this ninjutsu is a technique banned by the teacher, in order to deal with you, the only thing I can do is to assume the name of a sinner and use the name of the shadows of the past to judge your crimes. The slightly long-sounding voice reverberated in the heaven and earth like thunder. Side also heard the words, sighed with a complicated expression, and walked out. His backhand, he pulled out the huge scroll behind him and spread it flat on the ground. Three mysterious spell seals were the first to catch everyone's eyes. Where the curse seals gathered, and the words written on it shook the nerves of everyone. Human sacrifice. This is forbidden art. 3 generations of Hokage actually need to perform the forbidden technique of human sacrifice. There was a sudden uproar in the field. In their eyes, if Uchiha Ryu is the incarnation of evil who provoked war, then the 3 generations of Hokage are the incarnation of justice who presided over this battle and fought against Uchiha Ryu. Chapter 311. The whole card is a paper tiger. However, now the 3 generations of Hokage have pulled out a scroll of human sacrifice. It is still forbidden to perform. A bit too big for anyone. Looking at the familiar curse mark, Long Yu touched the tip of his nose helplessly, and couldn't help but say, "I said, this won't be your trump card, right? Is this your trump card?" Could it be that the strange voice made everyone in the field startled for a while? In their eyes, the use of human sacrifices is an awesome forbidden technique. However, now in Long Yu's eyes, it gives people a feeling of disappointment. This is unavoidable. Uchiha Ryu, I know this forbidden technique, and you may also, but as the inheritor of the will of fire, it will be the biggest killer of our Konoha ninja village. The shadow of the past dynasties, the majesty cannot be humiliated. The 3 generations of Hokage's expression sank. The moment when the voice fell, he didn't take into account the many eyes in the field at all, and with the movement of his hands, it quickly turned like a wheel. Dozens of spells, in the hands of the 3 generations of Hokage, were completed in an instant. Of this not-sealed technique did not humiliate his title as a ninjutsu professor. But the last magic seal fell, and the 3 generations of Hokage's eyes were like torches, and the right hand roared and shot towards the scroll. The art of psychic reincarnation. Roaring like thunder, it brought forth a sense of indomitable awe, which made everyone in the field startled at the same time. Sarutobi Asma was stunned, got up, and couldn't help but said coldly, "Dad, is this your trump card? Let's not be ashamed, hurry up and admit defeat." The small voice instantly overwhelmed the awe-inspiring voice of the 3 generations of Hokage. Were originally like a rainbow, almost stumbled and fell to the ground. If it wasn't for his image, Hijirai would have pulled Tsurubi Asma away in time. I'm afraid the father and son will really fight together. Roar. However, before everyone could react, 3 roars suddenly sounded. The living sacrifice on the scroll, like endless dust twisting, quickly transformed into 3 figures. That hideous appearance, under the rapid reorganization, was the first to catch the eye, which touched everyone's nerves. This is the first Hokage and the second Hokage. No, you can see it clearly, and that person seems to be the legendary Uchiha Madara of the Uchiha clan. The exclamation that sounded hastily shook everyone's nerves. If you say Senju Tobirama, in the ninja world, he is a ninja with outstanding strength. That Uchiha Madara, and Senju Hashirama, are known as godlike existences. The shinobi world of Konoha Shinobi Village, which has 2 giants, it can be said that in their era, the infighting of Konoha Shinobi Village, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha gave them a feeling of relief. However, now such characters have been resurrected by human beings. No one dared to question what they had. After all, this is the method used by the 3 generations of fire movies to fight against Uchiha Ryu to clear the portal. That it possesses is definitely not based on weakness. What's more, if this is the strength of one's own side, it is a strong and powerful shield for anyone. Big brother, is this what it feels like to be reincarnated in the dirt? The voice of 1,000 hands sounded first. However, when he saw Madara Uchiha, his expression sank, he was dormant, and the chakra in his body detonated directly. Boom! Exclamation mark. The breath like a hurricane turned into a frenzy and rewinded, making the expressions of the ninjas in the field change drastically. Being exposed to this burst of breath gave them the feeling that they were in a hurricane. If it is not for personal experience, no one wants to believe that someone can cause this kind of coercion with a chakra outbreak alone. Tobirama, put your fingers down. The first Hokage rolled his eyes and said, I didn't expect to be summoned again in just one day. It seems that the 4th ninja war is still unfolding. Uchiha Ryu, we meet again. Speaking of which, the first Hokage raised his hand towards Long Yu, and that kind of intimacy was simply stunned. Teacher, this is... The 3 generations of Hokage were also stunned, the first to lose their breath, and hurriedly said. This is his method of pressing the bottom of the box, and it is also one of the strengths of the decisive battle. However, as soon as it appeared, the trump card that should have turned the situation around. The way this trump card opens has the wrong feeling. It turned out to be a monkey. I didn't expect you to use it, this forbidden technique. After Chisho Tobarama glanced at the first Hokage, his taut fingers were released. He said coldly, that guy has used the reincarnation of the dirty earth and summoned the big brother several times. And Madara Uchiha over there. Speaking of which, Chinsho Tobarama subconsciously looked at the arrogant back, and said in a deep voice, I heard that he and Uchiha Ryu used the undead body to reincarnate several times, and they all lost in the end. The strength of Madara Uchiha at that time reached 70% of the heyday. 70% of the people present suddenly changed their expressions. For them, this kind of thing is simply a secret. No one would have thought that Uchiha Ryu actually fought against the legend of the Uchiha clan of the next generation, and defeated him. Who would believe it if he hadn't heard it with his own ears? Monkey, the purity of your reincarnation from the filth. Chinsho Tobarama regained his senses and remembered the most important question. 40%. The bastards have only 40% of their strength in their heydays, and the guys who use the reincarnation of the dirty earth are simply inferior to 1. Madara Uchiha's face sank, and he roared angrily. Dormant, the chakra pressure in the body was directly detonated like a volcanic eruption. And sweeping situation shook everyone's nerves. Was disbelief in his round eyes. Haven't seen pigs, but they have eaten pork too. They don't know how strong Uchiha Madara Kichung is. That burst out just now gave them the feeling that they were completely above Chinsho Tobarama. Such strength, even the shadows in their shinobi village couldn't easily achieve it. However, now someone tells them that Madara Uchiha, who is 70% powerful, has the undead body reincarnated in the dirt, but he can't beat Uchiha Ryu. That was the trump card that made them consider Konoha Shinobi Village's greatest help. It's completely a paper tiger. The huge gap between their original expectations and the situation in front of them made them immediately understand that the name of the Kingdom of Fire just now had good intentions. Sarutobi Asma's beating up his father is even more worthy of praise. Haha, you don't need to worry, that kid is also collecting tailed beasts. Senju Hakuma laughed indifferently. Chapter 312, The Strength of Konoha 2 Hokage. Also, I heard that those tailed beasts like him very much. As long as you give him the tail beast, it can be considered to avoid a battle, and you don't have to worry about the tail beast riot in the future. Of course, I was summoned. If you say you must fight, then I can only fight back. The small voice brought an inexplicable smell of slaughter, making the atmosphere in the field suddenly depressed. Of the first Hokage, the expressions of everyone in the field suddenly changed slightly. If it is said that the god of ninjas has the strength of the heyday, as their help, they may be able to be happy. However, Madara Uchiha and Chisho Hashirama now have only 40% of the strength of their heyday. Maybe the skinny camel is bigger than the horse. However, the Uchiha Ryu in front of him is not a paper tiger. 100,000 man-made white absolutes can also be easily destroyed. I am afraid that it is not enough to see a group of them together. Messy thoughts flashed through the minds of everyone present, and their eyes were locked on the body of the third Hokage. If they hadn't seen the scene where 100,000 Baiju was killed, they might still have the heart to fight against Uchiha Longyu. But this scene in front of him undoubtedly played the role of killing chickens and warning monkeys. No one is willing to die in a mortal situation. HMPH, mother-in-law's guy. Madara Uchiha snorted coldly and said disdainfully, that kid summoned me last time, but he had 80% of his strength. I said that without the strength of his heyday, I will not fight him again. Voice fell. Madara Uchiha glanced at Longyu coldly, then went straight to the side and sat cross-legged on the ground. That posture obviously intends to stay out of the way. After all, Madara Uchiha's face was unbearable after being abused in private several times before. Not to mention, in such a large audience, even knowing that they will lose, they still have to take action. Humiliation watching this scene, and the nerves of the people who were originally timid were tense, like a straw. HMPH, we had no hope that the Uchiha clan would take action. Shinsho Tobirama suddenly opened his mouth. The moment his eyes fell on Long Yu, he disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Appeared again, already one step ahead of Long Yu. His right hand suddenly turned over, revealing the detonating talisman in his hand. Without any bells and whistles, he directly patted Long Yu's body. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. The face of Shinsho Tobirama's shot, everyone just felt a flash in front of their eyes, and their eyes were obviously unable to keep up the speed of this instant body technique. However, this speed is only 40% of their heyday. If it was in its heyday, it would definitely be called super speed. Don't underestimate their strength, who only have 40% of their strength. It's not. Words can describe it. 2 days later, Onogi spoke with a solemn expression. We're ready to go too. The awe-inspiring voice tightened everyone's nerves. However, in the face of the violent Tobirama, the corners of Long Yu's lips pursed into a playful smile and said, "Is this the technique of detonating talismans that you deliberately used to restrain and reincarnate?" You know. Shinsho Tobirama's expression suddenly changed. When he developed the art of reincarnation from dirty soil that day, the sacrifices he needed were too inhumane, and the peace of those who intruded on Wonquan was disturbed. Thousands. Tezuma ordered the destruction of this ninjutsu. However, as his own efforts, it is still such a perverted ninjutsu, and Senju Tobirama is not willing to let it disappear at all. He came up with a forbidden art in the name of beauty and sealed it, and researched the art of mutual explosion that he thought could restrain the reincarnation of filthy earth. Everything is just for the sake of letting future generations remember the highlight moments of his 1,000 hands. Uchiha Ryayu, who could break his own forbidden technique, but didn't take things to heart. Shinsho Tobirama's face sank, and his hands suddenly folded together, forming a magic seal. Blast me! Low roar came out, the detonating talisman originally attached to Long Yu's body instantly burst into flames. At the same time, Senju Tobirama disappeared like a ghost out of thin air. At the same time, the 2 ninjutsus were almost completed in an instant, which surprised everyone. Boom! A thunderous explosion sounded first, and the fiery air wave rolled back like a frenzy. Of the people present changed suddenly, and in the blast of air, one after another detonating talisman was instantly channeled out. At the same time, these detonators continued to be detonated. Under such a cycle, a dense saturated explosion storm was formed, which directly submerged the radius of tens of meters where Uchiha Longyu was located. That were affected along the way were torn to shreds like a piece of paper. Seeing the blast of air soaring into the sky, the nerves of the onlookers suddenly became tense. Some people couldn't hold their breath, and they muttered in shock. Is this the strength of Konoha 2 Hokage? It is definitely the first person to be able to use the detonating talisman to such a degree. The power of this explosive talisman also uses the means of psychic communication to increase the originally limited attack power by dozens or even 100 times in an instant. In the face of this kind of attack, I am afraid that even the shadow will not be able to retreat. Scene suddenly boiled over. After all, in their perception, the role of the detonating talisman was at most to harass the enemy in unexpected situations. It's nice to be able to smash a light wound. To achieve such a saturated attack, no one dared to imagine it. Feeling the change in the atmosphere in the arena, Onogi, who had planned to make a move, snorted coldly, HMPH, don't forget, this 1,000-hand Tobirama is the ninjutsu master of Konoha Ninja Village. His ability is not you juniors can figure it out. However, just after this evaluation came down, the voices floating not far away made the nerves of everyone in the field tense. Boring. Madara Uchiha raised his eyelids disdainfully and said, if we can defeat him with just one ninjutsu move, we won't be channeled over and over again. Hashiyama, your younger brother is still so naive, this random shot is self-inflicted humiliation. Yuchinsho Tobarama's face sank, and a trace of anger flashed in the depths of your pupils. However, before he could react, the shouting of Chinsho Zujian suddenly sounded. Be careful. Would escape thousand hands technique. Chinsho Zujian let out a hurried cry, and when his hands suddenly folded, two tree roots burst out of the ground like horned dragons, wrapping directly around Chinsho Tobarama's waist with a gesture that was too fast to cover his ears. The violent scene suddenly changed Tobarama's expression, and before he had time to think about it, strong spatial fluctuations emerged behind him. Figure, like a ghost, came behind him. Read the underlined version of the novel. Please download the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 Playmate find 99 novel and LT. Please keep this paragraph for collection, otherwise the collection IP will be banned. And GT. 313th chapter. Self-inflicted humiliation. The thunder light bloomed in full view, and an arm even flew up, although no blood splashed. But it also tensed everyone's nerves. After all, this is one of the legends of Konoha Ninja Village. The existence of playing the detonator very smoothly. However, all of this would not have been possible if Senju Hakuma stepped in to help. I'm afraid it wasn't the arm that was thrown away, but the head was in a different place. At this moment, they finally understood what Uchiha Madara's self-inflicted humiliation meant. Two crackling thunder light splashed, raging like a horse training in the heaven and earth. Looking at the flying arm, when everyone's pupils suddenly contracted, they had a deep understanding of Uchiha Madara's words. Big brother. As soon as Chinsho came to Chinsho Zuma's side, he subconsciously covered his arms. Don't look at it, this is the body of the reincarnation of the dirt, this knife will not cause much damage to you. Chinsho Zujian glanced at it lightly and said, but you were too underestimated just now. Don't take it lightly because this kid is too young. If you let Madara evaluate it, this kid's strength is probably stronger than our heyday. The small voice was like an invisible big hand, and instantly clenched everyone's heart. They know that Uchiha Ryu's strength is no trivial matter. But it's all just their guesses. Fuzzy guesses just make people feel worried about the unknown. But after a real understanding, what you get will be trembling. Ask, what evaluation is more authoritative than the affirmation from the god of ninjas? What's more, Madara Uchiha, who was arrogant in the face of Senju Hakuma's evaluation, didn't even say a word. Based on this alone, it is enough to see that he also agrees with Senju Hashima's evaluation. The first generation, if you are like this, the game is not fun. Long Yu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, are you guys going to go together or wait to die one by one? Arrogant in the face of the invitation to battle issued by Long Yu alone. What a domineering move to single out the entire ninja world. However, in the face of this kind of rhetoric, the huge situation suddenly fell into a dead silence, and no one responded first. Such a scene made the dignified coalition forces suddenly become embarrassed. Hands on. 4 generations of thunder roared. In his eyes, no matter what. Old hatred, the only thing that can be done now is to let go and fight. Who is one of the most powerful warriors in Yunnin village, he can't do this kind of thing. Yo-yo, eldest brother is right, there are so many of us, we don't believe it, we can't defeat this person. Kurabi rapped to keep up. The crackling thunder light suddenly skyrocketed on the 4th generation Reikage. A body like an iron tower, when the Rekla mode is activated, the speed increases to the extreme. Reikage, the 4th generation Reikage, was once known as the fastest in the ninja world. A distance of 100 meters, it is only a blink of an eye for everyone. After everyone reacted, the 4th generation Reikage, who was bathed in thunder light, had already come to Long Yu and waited for me. The 5 fingers clenched suddenly, and the right fist, like a giant hammer filled with thunder, slammed down towards Uchiha Ryu's chest. Boom! With a punch, it was like a fierce wind-like frenzy that rolled away. The distance that is so close at hand is also approaching in the blink of an eye. However, before everyone could react, Long Yu suddenly moved. In the right hand detonated, and the black spot lightning pattern unfolded directly. Without any bells and whistles, he punched him in the face. Boom! The fists that were not trying to give up collided together, and the thunder light splashed down, and the air wave brought heavy pressure, which directly shattered the ground under my feet. At the same time, the pupils of the 4th Raikage shrank suddenly, and the words that fell in his ears shook his nerves. I caught you, Yao. The small voices seemed to be filled with magic sounds at this moment. As a combination of Yunnin village, the 4th generation Raikage and Kurabi are best at the combination battle of Thunder Plow and Hot Knife. Under the tacit understanding of the long-term battle, as long as the 4th Raikage shoots, Kurabi will assist from the back. It is wrapped around the waist of the 4th Raikage with 8-tailed octopus legs. Regardless of the 4th Raikage succeeded or missed, Kurabi was also able to respond quickly. Is it to pursue, or to pull back the 4th Raikage who missed the attack? However, the 4 generations of Raikage never imagined that this tacit understanding would give Uchiha Ryu an opportunity. Looking at Long Yu's right hand sticking out like lightning, he buckled it on the 8-tailed octopus's leg. The people present didn't react yet. Long Yu's right 5 fingers suddenly tightened, and under the prominent muscles, a tyrannical force erupted. Get me out! Bang! Kurabi, who followed the 4th Raikage, felt as if he was being pulled by a whale. Which it flew was unbelievable. The 8-tailed bull ghost, in desperation, could only stick out the remaining 7 octopus legs and fasten them to the ground, intending to do some buffering. However, all these efforts seemed to be in vain at this moment. Heavy ground was fastened, the solid rock formations collapsed. A large piece of rock collapsed, and sand and dust rolled up. The next moment, everyone saw Kurabi, like a cannonball, slammed into the deep crater meteorite not far away. The huge impact was accompanied by a thunder-like collision sound. The meteorite was also smashed head-on. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. Although, Uchiha Longyu chose the counterattack time very accurately. However, in one shot, he defeated the combination of Raikage, the 4th generation, and Hakuri Yutai. Moreover, under the wrestling, even the tailed beast was pulled away. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe this is true? The technique of flying thunder gods in a blink of an eye. The roar of the 1,000 hands Tobarama suddenly sounded. Like a ghostly figure, he first appeared on Long Yu's side, and then he reached out and buckled on the body of the 4th Raikage. He could react. Senju Tobarama disappeared like a ghost with the 4th Raikage in place. When it reappeared, the roar of Senju Tobarama resounded again. Sand Ninja Village, if you don't do it now, when will you wait? The sound of the sandstorm double burying the sand suddenly sounded. He and Fenfu were obviously horned, and they even appeared dozens of meters away from Long Yu. After forming a series of magic seals with both hands, he slapped the ground below suddenly. Boom! The roar of the rolling rock formations echoed, straining everyone's nerves. The ground with the dragon feather as the center, under the rapid tumbling, endless sand waves rushed out. Turned into 2 giant waves, and shot the dragon feather head-on. The gold dust and the yellow sand collided in the void in an instant, like a huge wave overturning, slapping at Long Yu. Hee, it seems that even Renzuli can't hold his breath anymore, this just saves my effort. Facing this scene, Long Yu seemed not to care about it at all. With a genial smile, the 9-hooked jade kaleidoscope writing wheel spun in vain. Chapter 314. Want to beat Long Yu. Susano's violent pupil power exploded like a frenzy. The blood-colored posture, mixed with the taste of disaster, shook everyone's nerves. Those rapidly emerging ribs formed an absolute defense that made the pupils shrink suddenly. Blood was like a tidal wave, like a huge giant, it forcibly blocked the wave of gold dust that was rolling in. The ferocious ribs, the 100-meter body that was quickly constructed, and the majesty covering the whole body. The three-headed and six-armed posture is even more hideous. Facing this scene, the expressions of everyone in the field suddenly changed drastically. The 4 generations of Kazekage and Aikitotoju share their blessings, and the joint strike that is displayed. It should be able to easily submerge a small town. However, in front of Long Yu, this seemingly monstrous sand wave seemed pale and powerless. If you don't see it with your own eyes, no one wants to believe it. The shadow-level powerhouses who are regarded as the most powerful by them, as well as human pillar weapons, will display such a pale and powerless attack. However, in the face of all this, Luo Sha was the first to laugh unscrupulously. Haha, Uchiha Ryayu, I knew you would care so much. Facing such a wide-ranging attack, you didn't take it to heart at all. Share the blessings, use that trick. The hurried voices detonated everyone's nerves one after another. Of Luo Sha, who was originally at a disadvantage, but suddenly became the winner, everyone's nerves suddenly tense. The Buddha's name recited in Fenfu's mouth stopped instantly. In the next moment, his eyes suddenly changed, and they turned directly into the black and gold eyes of a Shuhei. The roar was like a thunderous roar, and it rolled back with a strong wave of air. The purple pattern quickly emerged from the yellow sand and sand gold. The blink of an eye, it spread to the buried Susanoo. However, no one has yet to react. Fenfu's body was instantly shaped into Shuhei's huge body under the endless rolling back of yellow sand. The huge body of 100 meters, covered with purple patterns all over the body, exudes a strange smell everywhere. Bastard human beings, dare to force me to control me, I will not spare you. Shuhei's roar echoed in the sky in all directions. Everyone's nerves suddenly tense. After all, it is different from Yunnin village who has a perfect human pillar. Fenfu was able to communicate with Aikyo, but it wasn't like he was able to get Shukaku's approval completely. Case Shuhei can't think about it, he chooses to run wild at this juncture. That makes people unable to eat and walk around. However, in the face of all this, Luo Sha was completely convinced that he had obtained the seal against the tailed beast in the hands of Heiju not long ago. He has personally tested it, and the power is self-evident. Otherwise, at this juncture, the risk will not put the chips on the fortune-sharing body. Just as this thought flashed through Luo Sha, the sound of chanting the Buddha suddenly sounded again. However, this time it was obviously from Shuhei's mouth. At this moment, the black and gold eyes that were bursting with tears became clear and bright. A pair of huge front claws were inserted into the sand, and the next moment an angry roar rose. Seal of the Great Burial in the Desert. That were originally buried around Susanoo were affected in an instant. Like a carp rolling, the moment when it suddenly rolled up, it turned into a frenzy, and went directly to Susanoo's body, frantically burying it. Blink of an eye, the huge desert pyramid of 100 meters. Directly condensed. At the same time, on the sand body of Shuhei, the purple incantation that appeared, seemed to come alive, and with a swift and violent attitude, it quickly diffused towards the desert pyramid. The speed was so fast that when everyone came back to their senses, the seal enchantment was directly condensed. Seeing the successful strike, a flash of ecstasy flashed across Luo Sha's face, and even Madara Uchiha, who was sitting cross-legged on the side, immediately retreated away from the battle circle because of the violent shot in front of him. The sealing technique condensed with the power of the tailed beast, his brows were raised. If you don't take action now, when will you wait? Luo Sha succeeded in one strike, and at this time, it was a moment of brilliance for him. These words fell, the two-day Thing Onogi not far away, like a ghost, rushed to the side of the desert pyramid in an instant. His hands suddenly pressed down on the pyramid, and he shouted in a deep voice. The art of earth escape super heavy rock. Boom! There was a roar from the ground of the rock formation, and the huge pyramid of 100 meters, under the super heavy rock technique, soared dozens of times in weight. Feels like it weighs millions of pounds. It makes the original sealing power even more indestructible. A roar of roaring tears suddenly came out. The five-tailed king Mew, the six-tailed rhinoceros, and the eight-tailed bull ghost manifested in an instant. After obtaining the seal of Heiju, the control and transformation of the tailed beast has obviously reached the extreme. Along with the awe-inspiring roar, the bloody mouth suddenly bluffed, and the frenzied chakra gathered in a frantic backlog. The violent scene fell in the eyes of the ninja coalition, and some ninjas with a little more experience suddenly changed their expressions. This is a tailed beast cannon that can destroy Shinobi Village with one blow, let's retreat quickly. These words fell, everyone's nerves seemed to be moved. There was no time to think about it, and they all quickly retreated, and the huge formation completely became panic. However, seeing the four-tailed beasts cast the tailed beast jade at the same time, Luo Sha's face suddenly sank, and he hurriedly looked at the three generations of Hokage. Konoha Shinobi Village, when will your 9 tails wait if you don't make a move now? In Luo Sha's eyes, from the moment when the violent lure attack was launched, Uchiha Ryu, who was invincible in the eyes of outsiders, was counted by him. It can be said that if this battle is successful, then Luo Sha will become the most prestigious ninja in the ninja world. That filled the village and were unfavorable to him would obediently shut up and disappear. Under his leadership, Sand Ninja Village can also rise like the sky. Moreover, according to the agreement, whoever defeats Uchiha Ryu, he has the first right to choose the tailed beast he possesses. Once that time comes, their Sand Ninja Village will have a second head-tailed beast. As long as the human pillar power is created, under the unsatisfactory tail beast sealing technique provided by Heiju, then the strength of their Sand Ninja Village will be further improved, and it will be no exception to become the most powerful ninja village in the ninja world. At that time, Sand Ninja Village was like Konoha Ninja Village, which had Senju Hasuma and Uchiha Madara at the same time. Hiluasha will also become the greatest wind shadow in the history of the Sand Ninja Village. However, this idea had just emerged, and before Luo Sha could react, a violent chakra detonated in the whirlpool Juchinai. Just like the moment when a frenzy rose into the sky, it was filled with the smell of various negative disasters. The scarlet chakra quickly circled and condensed in the void, and instantly turned into a vague 9-tailed posture. Chapter 315, Reincarnation Eyes Again. A pair of eyes that burst into tears like a blood moon. After looking around the entire battlefield, they instantly locked on the huge pyramid with high hopes, and a hoarse voice suddenly came out. You guys are too naive. Do you think that this thing alone can suppress him? Too naive. The disdainful words echoed in the sky like thunder, and they did not dissipate for a long time. Many people subconsciously looked at Madara Uchiha and Chisho Hasuma. After all, the two of them are known as the top of the ninja world in the past, and all opinions will become the most important measure. However, this sight was aimed at Chinsho Zujian, the slightly helpless gesture of touching the tip of his nose. While the expressions of everyone in the arena changed slightly, Luo Sha, who was on the side, took the lead in roaring angrily. You bastard, it is buying time for Uchiha Ryu. He is now suppressed by Fenfu's sealing technique. Under the tail beast jade, I don't believe that Susanoo alone can save him. Along with the hysterical roar, everyone's nerves were tense again. Luo Sha roared again with a ferocious face. Hands on. The successive urgings instantly made the 4 pillars tense their nerves. Looking at the sandstorm pyramid in front of him, a ruthless color flashed in the depths of his pupils. The arrow is on the string, and the matter has progressed to the present, and there is no way out. What's more, in the face of the 4 great people, Zuli, they couldn't believe that Uchiha Ryu was really able to take the attack down. Tail Beast Cannon. 4-tailed beasts roared in unison, the bloody mouth bluffed, and the endless chakra madly gathered and compressed in the mouth. Looking at the rapidly prototyping tail beast cannon, the overflowing destructive aura filled the sky in all directions. A slight humming sound of the air suddenly came out, and the four-tailed beast cannons clearly reached the critical point. The eyes of the four-tailed beasts lit up, and after reflecting on the motionless sandstorm pyramid, they moved instantly. The big mouths of the four big-tailed beasts suddenly opened and closed, and the tailed beast Jade, which was compressed to the extreme, was like a cannonball, and the air was instantly torn out. The turbulent air ripples quickly rolled back around. The distance of 500 or 600 meters, under the four whistling tailed beast Jade, is only approaching in the blink of an eye. Looking at the next moment, I can collide with the tailed beast Jade, no matter what. Is it the four great people Zuli, or Luo Sha and others? Even the more distant ninja coalition had an inexplicable urgency on his face. They eagerly wanted to know, who was more naive than Juwei's mouth was too naive. However, this idea had just sprouted in their minds, and before they could react, sonic booms ripped apart. Bang bang bang, the thick pyramid wall was instantly penetrated. The blood-colored chains, like a horned dragon going out to sea, and with the tendency to cover their ears, collided head-on with the approaching tailed beast Jade. Bang! The seemingly fierce and unparalleled tailed beast Jade was instantly pierced by a single glance. Boom! The thunderous explosion sounded like a direct detonation, and the turbulent airwaves rolled back like a 12-category hurricane. That soared into the sky turned into a sea of fire in an instant. Four indestructible blood-colored chains appeared in front of the four-tailed beasts in an instant, piercing through endless fire. Feeling the breath emanating from the chains, a trace of panic flashed in the eyes of the tailed beasts. However, at such a close distance, all efforts seemed to be in vain. As soon as the golem chain approached, the speed increased sharply. As cunning as a poisonous snake, it quickly wrapped around the neck of the tailed beast. 4. The big-tailed beast touched the golem chain. The chakra in the body was like falling into a quagmire. All the strength in his body was imprisoned in an instant. Come here for me. The light voice, at this moment, seems to have the taste of waiting for me without a doubt. The moment the words fell, the blood-colored chains suddenly tightened, without any fancy. Four huge-tailed beast silhouettes like hills were pulled over abruptly. Gave the impression of being a tailed beast like a dog, pale and powerless in front of the four blood-colored chains. The low roar of roar instantly detonated the silence in the field. The sandstorm pyramid, which had been pierced, spread out like a cobweb of cracks. The next moment, a huge palm like a dead tree pierced through it forcibly. It was regarded as an indestructible defense by them, and it was pulled by two big hands, accompanied by a rolling roar, and suddenly tore apart in front of everyone's eyes. Yellow sand was flying all over the sky, pouring down like a torrential rain. The outsider golem, which is far larger than the tailed beast, broke out of the ground directly. The 5 open eyes, the flowing scarlet blood, even had a terrifying feeling. Like a dead dog, was abruptly pulled in front of him. However, those present, regardless of, is it Luo Sha and others, or the ninja coalition? Even Madara Uchiha and Chinshuju suddenly turned their eyes, and they all locked onto the outer Dao golem, that thin figure. Those eyes that were as white as snow, the 9 jade hooks that turned, and the eyes were facing each other, and the soul seemed to be shaken. This is the reincarnation eye of the 6 Taoists. An unexpected exclamation tensed everyone's nerves. They had already seen Uzumaki Nagato during the 5 shadow talks held in Konoha Ninja Village. However, in the face of this so-called leader of the Shao organization, they were shocked and surprised, but not to the level of awe. However, when these eyes fell on Long Yu, the meaning was completely different. A pair of 9-hook jade kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes has already made the ninja world terrified. Now let's take a pair of samsara eyes again. What level of strength is that? That's not at all to describe in words. It's impossible for you to open the eye of reincarnation. Madara Uchiha's face changed, and he roared anxiously. The face of this junior, he has always held the determination to be ashamed. Regardless of, it's the first time we've met, and nothing will change. However, this idea, with each meeting, has become more and more extravagant. Uchiha Ryu, who became stronger and more unfathomable again and again. When he saw this pair of reincarnation eyes, he couldn't help but feel a hint of despair in his heart. The violent scene made everyone in the field froze in shock. The face of the legend of the dignified Uchiha clan, he actually behaved so rudely. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, who would want to believe that all this was true? Ban, isn't this your eye? Heiju, who had been holding his stomach full of murderous intent and was about to look for an opportunity to explode, suddenly changed his expression and asked anxiously. Most powerful behind-the-scenes mastermind who has lived for thousands of years, the Samsara Eye has rarely appeared. If Madara Uchiha didn't open the Eye of Reincarnation by chance, Heiju wouldn't know, and there are other ways. However, this was originally a part of his secret, but it was broken one after another by the young man in front of him. Chapter 316, Ancient Ninjutsu. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe this is true? After all, having the reincarnation eye means that Uchiha Ryu has the opportunity to become the 10-tailed man. In the face of Long Yu, who has been terrified by his actions time and time again, Heiju dare not gamble. The voice of hysterical questioning reverberated in all directions. Everyone's eyes turned and locked on Uchiha Madara's body. In the face of this legend of the Uchiha family, they have never thought of it, and there is such an inside story. No, it's not my eyes. Madara Uchiha had a hint of madness on his face, stared straight at Uchiha Ryu, shook his head and roared, "Who are you? Why do you know everything?" In the face of this, every time he appears, he can do things to give people a faction, steady as a rock, and strategizing the younger generation. Even Uchiha Madara couldn't help but feel a trace of inexplicable powerlessness and despair in his heart. Hee, do I still need to ask? I am a member of the Uchiha clan. Long Yu smiled warmly, but instead looked at Heiju not far away and said, Uchiha is stupid and thinks you are the successor of his will. However, I'm not the same as him. I've lived on my brain until now. I really want to know, what other cards do you have so that you can still have the confidence this time, and don't choose to run away? Regardless of. It's the first time we meet, or it's a series of fights. The first to escape when he sees that the situation is not right. However, for now, regardless of. Is it because the army of 100,000 Baiju disappeared, or the four-tailed beasts joined forces and were directly captured? For Heiju, who originally liked the 36 strategies to be the best strategy, he still stayed on the battlefield. That's when things go wrong and there must be demons. He is not a product of my will. Madara Uchiha's expression froze, and he said, "No way, before I was killed by you, I clearly poured my will into his body, this is a clone." Madara Uchiha roared and couldn't wait to form a series of spells. However, when the last spell in his hand fell, Heiju, who was not far away, still stood there indifferently. Regardless of. Madara Uchiha gave such an order, and everything seemed pale and powerless. Now, let alone Madara Uchiha, even the melon-eating crowd in the field suddenly understood that Madara Uchiha might have been deceived again. Feeling the change of sight around him, Madara Uchiha's face flashed a trace of anger. Taking a step forward, like a ghost, he performed the teleportation technique, and he appeared first in a dozen meters away from Heiju. Like wheels, his hands flew up quickly, forming a series of magic marks. The art of fire escape how fireball. The fiery chakra was condensed frantically in Madara Uchiha's mouth, and the next moment he swallowed it. With a diameter of tens of meters condensed in an instant, and the fiery air wave rolled down. With a rolling gesture, the scene of rolling towards highway and violently made many people stunned. In their eyes, Heiju is their ally who jointly deal with Uchiha Ryu. Uchiha, reincarnated from the dirt, is the killer of the 3 generations of Hokage. However, now there is an infighting in public, and if you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe that all this is true? 3 Hokage. Luo's expression changed, and he exclaimed anxiously. Facing Uchiha Ryayu. The four-tailed beasts were easily subdued. Renzuli had no response. Black is absolutely incomprehensible, but as long as there is more effort, it is also a 1% chance of winning. However, the scene of entering the goal, it was Chinsho Zujian's shot to stop him. You have reached this point, do you still not understand? What does the innocence in Juwei's mouth really mean? Since the tailed beast has already fallen into Long Yu's hands, I advise you not to take action anymore. He didn't put you in his eyes at all. Speaking, Chisho Hakuma's eyes suddenly turned, fell on Uchiha Madara, and said in a deep voice, now Madara is at a rampant level, if you forcibly stop him, I'm afraid it will force him to go mad. Take action against you. What I want to know the most right now is what the kid in front of me has in mind. Would escape wooden man technique. Heiju roared, his hands clasped together suddenly, the muscles in his body squirmed, and the ground under his feet was instantly moved. As huge as a horned dragon directly broke through the rock formation, turned into a big hand, and suddenly caught the incoming fireball. At the same time, the huge wooden man of 100 meters was transformed into an illusion. Bang! Fireball was crushed in response to the sound, turning into a sky of fire and dispersing between the sky and the earth. Of the people present changed suddenly. A low voice came out on the wooden man. Heiju, everything to be prepared is ready. Group collection. Seeing this uninvited guest, the three generations of Hokage were stunned for a moment, and their expression changed drastically. The face of Danzo, a conspirator, he is obviously a scumbag. Hee, Danzang, your shit stick has come out. It seems that you are ready to deal with me with a confident killer. I hope you won't let me down. This time, it will not be like before, let you all pass the street. Rat, fled sullenly. Uchiha Ryayu smiled and looked at Danzo. The small voice once again tightened everyone's nerves. Under the strength of Uchiha Ryayu, who has seen it with his own eyes, he dares to stand up and show his trump card. That means that this trump card is no trivial matter. Danzang's face sank involuntarily. It can be said that the biggest mistake in his calculations in this life is to underestimate the strength of Uchiha Ryayu. If he could be counted once, he would definitely strangle Long Yu to death in his infancy. However, in the face of the once despair, Heiju came to the door not long ago and proposed the last trump card, which gave him a glimmer of hope and urgency. Once this technique is successfully performed, what awaits Uchiha Ryayu will be despair. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Danzo's ugly face, and after looking at Long Yu, he immediately looked at the three generations of Hokage, who had been his old enemy for many years, and said, I didn't think that you would end up in desperation. Even the teacher's forbidden technique has been displayed. Although, I couldn't become Hokage back then, but this time, I want to prove that the teacher is blind. If I become Hokage, I will be 100 times stronger than you. Look, this is what we do to deal with this the arrogant, the ancient ninjutsu prepared. As long as he is killed, I will become a hero of the ninja world. Chang's voice became a little hysterical at the end. Danzang didn't delay much, and in the backhand, a simple scroll fell directly into his hand, and quickly spread out on the wooden figure's head. At the same time, he took out a brand new scroll again and bit it in his mouth with his backhand. Chapter 317, Chakra of the Nine-Tailed Beasts. As the scroll hung down and spread out, Danzo quickly flipped his hands and formed a series of spell marks. The next moment, without any bells and whistles, an angry roar started. The art of psychic. Spiritual art. Roaring again and again, with a decidedly unparalleled taste. The moment Danzo's hands suddenly folded, the scroll in his mouth exploded into a cloud of white mist. The next moment, the worn-out vessels were directly channeled out. Are various mysterious patterns on each vessel. That's the Kowloon magic sealing pot that was broken during the process of sealing the three tails. How did Danzang get it? That's the magic flame tin that sealed the second and second tails. That's the seal of the 6 tails. A series of exclamations came out from the mouths of several shadows. Before the previous Ren Zuli died, the candidate to succeed Zuli was not found. They usually use utensils to seal, although the difficulty is also very high, but at least they will not run wild like Ren Zuli. It can be said that the value of these vessels is no less than that of divine vessels. However, now these things are in Danzo's hands, which has to make these ninja villages look at Danzo's dark line with admiration. Heiju, these utensils all have chakra left by the tailed beast, which should be enough. Danzo hurriedly said. It just kind of looks like an invitation. However, in the face of all this, not many people pay attention to it now. What they are most eager to know now is what Highway wants these sealed vessels containing the tailed beast chakra to do. Danzo, I didn't expect you to be successful. Heiju's eyes lit up, and after looking around, he smiled grimly and said, Uchiha Ryu, you sealed the rest of the tailed beasts in the body of the outsider golem, I can't get them. But it doesn't mean that I can't get the chakra of the nine-tailed beast. Speaking of this, Heiju suddenly clasped his hands together, and a mysterious magic seal appeared in his hands at the moment. Was originally obtained by Heiju as a vote, and then was applied to the body of the tailed beast, quickly appeared on the body of the four-tailed beasts and Kushina. Roar! Painful screams rang out from the mouth of the tailed beast like thunder, and Uzumaki Kushina covered her abdomen with pain, and a large amount of cold sweat oozes out of her forehead. Scene of, Waiting for Me, made the faces of all the movie-level powerhouses change drastically. Stepped forward even more quickly, hurriedly trying to help Uzumaki Kushina. However, the oncoming is a slap from Hula. The crisp slaps echoed in the sky in all directions, so hot that Minato was stunned. His cheeks, he said, Jushina, with a pale face. Your sister. Uzumaki Kushina gritted her teeth and said, if you hadn't given me a seal for no reason, I wouldn't have done this, and I won't see you in the future. The hysterical roar, like a heavy hammer, shook Minato's nerves. Seeing this scene, Minato Namikaze shook his head grimly, then suddenly looked at Heiju, and roared sternly, Heiju, what exactly did you do? You're being used as a gun. Long Yu rolled his eyes and said, that guy has been eyeing chakra, the tailed beast from the very beginning. It seems that this ninjutsu is worth looking forward to. It is indeed a behind-the-scenes gun that has lived for thousands of years. These words fell, not only Namikaze Minato and the others, but also Heiju's complexion suddenly changed. You know I'm coming. Calendar. Heiju's face sank, and he asked anxiously. Faced with these words, everyone's nerves were moved. After all, if in their eyes, the origin of Uchiha Ryu is the most difficult to guess, then Heiju can be ranked second. Now Long Yu is playing Kick Explosion, this is big news. For a time, everyone's eyes were locked on Long Yu's body, and there was an inexplicable urgency. Hehe, I originally planned to leave you some suspense, but since you have such a request, then I will also fulfill you. And said, Six-Path Immortal, named Otsutsugi Yuya, he has a younger brother named Otsutsugi Yukin. Of course, you may think that this black thing is the feather coat, but I can tell you clearly that this guy is only the seal of the Six-Path Immortal, the ancestor of chakra, and the ancient will that was stripped out when Kagaya Otsutsuki was called. The worst third child. The slightly elongated voice can be called full of explosiveness. It is like a stone that stirred up 1,000 waves. In the ninja world, there is indeed a legend of 6 immortals. In their eyes, the ancestor of chakra is also a Six-Path Immortal. However, now Long Yu's remarks have simply removed the mystery of history. Let them know what dusty history is. It's not possible, it's absolutely impossible. Heiju's expression changed dramatically, and Zhuangruo frantically stepped back a few steps. Who are you? Why do you know these things? Looking at Heiju, who was so rude, the people who were still suspicious, suddenly changed their expressions. In particular, Madara Uchiha, who always thought that Kuro was absolutely his own will. Now suddenly tell him that this is the will of the ancestor of chakra. In the case of public embarrassment, it would be a big embarrassment. If there was a dog hole here, he would like to go straight into it. Hee, you ask who I am. Long Yu smiled and said, actually, I don't know, or you can call me the heavenly way of this world, the person who stands on the top and overlooks all beings. The nonsense is over, it's time to show the cards. The people who looked down on all living beings from the Tao of heaven were obviously stunned. Heiju's expression changed. Looking at the quaint scroll on the ground, he roared angrily. What is the way of heaven? What is overlooking all living beings? This is simply bullshit. You just know that my mother is the ancestor of chakra, but you must not have thought, where did my mother come from? This scroll, as long as you use the chakra of the 9 big-tailed beasts, you can open a door to the dimension that my mother broke 1,000 years ago. This chakra doesn't belong to this world at all. As a princess, the mother is responsible for cultivating the divine tree. She has already violated the family rules by doing so. Speaking of this, Heiju's expression was obviously distorted, and he said with a big laugh, the Protoss where my mother belongs, every clan member can easily destroy this ninja world, your so-called shadow is not even a fart in front of them. The 100,000 Baiju army, but the mother who is the ancestor of chakra, created it to deal with the clansmen who came to the door one day. Uchiha Ryu, aren't you very good? Although I can't unlock the coordinates that were closed by my mother forever, but even if I open it for a moment, I can let the people of the Otsutsuki God clan discover this dimension. Once they come through the world, wait for it. Yours is doomed. The voice of Chang's words rolled away. Facing the blackness of the fish and the net, everyone's nerves suddenly tense. Chapter 318. Don't stop waiting for him to shoot. Danzo, who was an accomplice on the side, changed his face slightly, and couldn't help but take a half step back. The voices that sounded like crazy, like thunder, rolled and dispersed in the sky. At Heiju's distorted cheeks, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Especially the so-called Otsutsuki God clan that Heiju kept talking about when he heard it. That is comparable to the ancestor of chakra, and even comparable to the existence of the 6th path immortal. In case it really makes the black absolutely, poke a hole in the dusty space coordinates. It was a nightmare for them. Thinking of this, everyone's eyes turned and locked directly on Uchiha Longyu. At this time of crisis, they thought of Longyu first. If he is willing to take action, the crisis brought by Heiju may be easily resolved. 3 Hokage. The 2 Oyoki were the first to hold back. In the current situation, anyone can see who is loyal and who is traitor. That Heiju is about to bring, the faces of the 3 generations of Hokage changed one after another, and finally he sighed, Long Yu, can you stop him? As soon as these words came out, everyone's nerves were tense. However, more still blushed. After all, just a moment ago, they kept saying that they wanted to kill Uchiha Ryu and win the 4th Ninja War. He even regarded the 100,000 man-made white army of Heiju as his trump card. However, the change in the situation that is now in front of us is too fast. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe that this is a turning point? Stop him. Long Yu smiled genially and looked around and said, why do you want to stop him? I'll wait for him to take action, and wait until the flowers are gone. Heiju, stop dawdling. The small voice, at this moment, seemed to be filled with a magical sound, echoing in the heaven and earth for a long time, and there was no way to disperse. Not to mention many people in the ninja world, even Heiju was shocked, and the whole person was stunned. Monkey, don't mess around. Chinsho Hashirama appeared beside the 3rd Hokage, patted him on the shoulder and said, although I don't know that kid, why do you know so many ancient things? However, according to Heiju, the ancestor of chakra, Kagaya Otsutsuki, obscured the spatial coordinates of this dimension, and then captured the chakra fruit, then her family will never give up the pursuit. To find this place, I am afraid it is also sooner or later. Speaking, Chinsho Zujian's eyes suddenly turned and fell on Long Yu's body. I think, this kid is probably planning to lead them out, and then cut the grass. Draw them out. The expressions of the people present changed drastically, and they were simply gasping for breath. Onogi hurriedly asked, if the space coordinates of the first generation of fire are really opened, how many people will the other party come, how strong will it be, and if we can't deal with it, it will be for the entire ninja world. Is a disaster. The expressions of the people in the field were just like what Onogi said, facing the Otsutsuki God clan in the mouth of highway, under the unknown strength, the risk is too great. No, according to Heiju, this space coordinate is only open for a short time, and the other party can sense that the people who come here should only be those who have been tracked down for a long time. Shinsho Tobarama explained, if this chakra is really so important to the Otsutsuki God clan in Highway's mouth, and they will come after them, it will be a matter of time. Ryu Uchiha's strength is unfathomable right now, and even the eldest brother. Asuke is not an opponent, he has the confidence to let Highway go, there is definitely a whole card, he is willing to deal with it, and it is better than the ninja world to deal with in the future. The words fall, immediately. Let the people in the field suddenly realize. The side, Shinsho Hashirama said with an unexpected look, Tobarama, I didn't expect you to say good things to this kid, it's really a miracle. In the original work, if it is said that Shinshujuma is a joke, then Senju Tobarama is an unselfish judge. Two are a black and white face, especially when facing the Uchiha family. HMPH, eldest brother, I'm just talking about things, not to mention that with our current state, we can't be of much help at all. Shinsho Tobarama's face was slightly stagnant, and he hurriedly explained. Haha, I didn't expect Tobarama that you would be shy too. Thousands of hands burst into laughter. However, no matter how many people come to the other side, we have to be prepared, otherwise, let the other side beat him, and let the kid come to help, it will lose the face of our ninja world. Yes, the original Hokage-sama is right. The face of the 3 generations of Hokage was condensed, and he shouted in a hurry, everyone obeys the order. Now the 5 ninja village alliances have changed from crusade against Konoha and betrayal Uchiha Ryu to dealing with foreign enemies. The whole army is 12 points of energy, don't do it. Lost the face of our 5 great ninja villages. Yes. The unanimous response, like thunder, shot straight into the sky above the 9 heavens, giving people a deafening feeling. Looking at the rainbow-like situation, Heiju's face was a little unbearable, and the muscles of his cheeks were twitching. This is his trump card at the bottom of the box, and it should have been enough to make people terrified and confused when he opened it up. However, the scene now presented in front of me is obviously not the right style of painting. However, this is not to blame for Heiju's kind of change. The mood changes, and even the 5 shadow-level powerhouses present did not expect such an aura. After all, not long ago, the 4 generations of Raikage personally boosted morale, and the effect was not as good as before. However, when he saw the thin figure standing on the meteorite, there was a warm smile on his face. Everything can be explained and the confidence is different. HMPH, don't think too much, the boss said that the people who will come next, even we are not qualified to shoot, let alone these little shrimp hair. An unexpected voice suddenly came out. The morale that was originally high, suddenly collapsed, and his eyes looked at the sound. Shirjiao, you kid, why haven't you died yet? Shinsho Hasuma looked at the person who came, and was the first to spit out a sentence in confusion. The original high-spirited Zhao, Du, that stinky face that has remained unchanged for thousands of years, couldn't help twitching. However, looking at this one in front of him, the first Hokage who used to frighten him to the point where he ran back to Taki Ninja Village. The Senju Hakuma in front of him is only 40% of the strength of the heyday, but the corners are equally unmotivated, and he has risen to challenge again. This is the shadow of a lifetime. After taking one more look at Senju Hashirama, Kokaku, all came to the 3 generations of Hokage unscrupulously, and said, quickly let all the ninjas below the elite Jonin leave. No one can do anything without the boss's order. After these words fell, the people in the field couldn't help but look at each other in dismay. A moment ago, I thought I could contribute, but now I am disgusted. Chapter 319, Let You Play. This gap is a bit too big. For a time, the huge Ninja World Coalition became hesitant, everyone's eyes swiped and locked on Shinshozuma's body. According to Zhao Du's words, facing this unknown enemy, that kid should be the most familiar. Shinshujujian said in a deep voice. Although, he was already dead, but now he was reincarnated by the dirt. However, as the god of ninjas in the past, Senju Hashirama has the absolute right to speak. Face of the third Hokage sank, and without any hesitation, I looked back at the other four shadows. We agree. Four shadows nodded in agreement. After all, Konoha Ichimura is the only one in front of him, let alone Uchiha Ryu's order. Now even the former god of the ninja world, Senju Hashirama has made a decision. What's more, in the face of this unknown enemy, they are not willing to let these hard-trained ninjas die in vain. Along with the decision of the five shadows fell, the ninjas present were a little reluctant in their hearts, but things like watching a movie and eating melons can be placed anywhere. Under the premise that life is critical, it is better to turn around and retreat quickly. Heiju's expression turned ashen, almost clenching his teeth when he looked at the scene that seemed to be slapsticking and did not take him in his eyes at all. Why don't you do it? The yellow cauliflower is cold this time. Long Yu rolled his eyes helplessly. You. Black was instantly suffocated. However, the arrow had to be fired on the string, and it was too late to retreat. The only thing that could be done was to give it a go. Thinking of this, a ferocious look flashed across Heiju's face, and then he roared in anger. Okay, very good, I'm going to see how you can be fierce in the face of the Otsutsuki god race. Today, I will let you ninja world, see what the fear of despair is. Voice fell, Heiju double-handed, and quickly flipped up like a wheel. He moved, the tailed beast chakra, which had been pulled, exploded instantly. At the same time, the vessel that sealed the tailed beast in the past was also pulled out by this ninjutsu, and a large number of chakras were drawn. Accompanied by a low roar, the power of the nine-tailed beasts turned into a frenzy and poured towards Heiju. When the last magic seal fell, the hideousness on Heiju's face climbed to the extreme. Without any bells and whistles, it was photographed suddenly on the scroll in front of him. The art of psychic, dimensional boundary wall. Along with the maddening voice, the simple scroll seemed to be on fire. Of the nine-tailed beasts gathered together. Immediately, like a beam of light, it ran through the nine heavens. A thunderous sound resounded, and the lead clouds that were backed up in the nine heavens, like waves and ripples, were about to open. The tyrannical spatial fluctuations spread out like a frenzy, and the shattered spatial cracks gave people a scene of mirror breaking. What was originally a bright day, the sky suddenly became gloomy, as if night had fallen. Through the huge space crack spanning a kilometer, you can vaguely see the stars in the sky, just like the Milky Way. The strange scene and the tyrannical spatial fluctuations that spread out, like an invisible big hand, tightened everyone's heart. 7. Colored vortex like a black hole turned frantically, and a crisp crashing sound suddenly sounded. It gives the feeling of breaking through the barriers. Looking at this scene, even the many ninjas who had retreated couldn't help but stopped and looked up at the sky. Uchiha Ryu, you should be proficient in the stronger art of reincarnation of the dirty earth. Madara Uchiha suddenly said, I can join the war. When these words fell, the expressions of many people in the field changed slightly. Madara Uchiha was originally a rebellious person. If Senju Hashirama is going to take action, it is because he has the ninja world in his heart. However, as Madara Uchiha, no one would blame him even if he didn't do it. However, the decision now made is beyond their knowledge. Haha, Madara, it looks like you, but you are holding back your resentment, and you can't beat that kid. Senju Hasuma patted Madara Uchiha on the shoulder, laughed unbridledly and said, however, it's good to find a suitable partner to vent. Boy, this filthy reincarnation technique shouldn't be difficult for you, right? 40% of your strength. In this case, I'm afraid it's not enough. The small voice tensed everyone's nerves. The cheeks of the third Hokage couldn't help twitching. I thought that this reincarnation of the dirt was his biggest killer against Long Yu. However, I never imagined that in such a situation, it would be disliked in public. But in the face of this, the most mysterious existence in the ninja world in front of him, his technique of reincarnation from the dirty earth, is indeed the axe of Banman. This, the title of ninjutsu professor, I don't know where to put it. Okay, let's have fun. Long Yu rolled his eyes helplessly and looked at the 3 generations of Hokage. 3 generations of Hokage quickly recovered, since Uchiha Long Yu is willing to perform the art of reincarnation from the dirty soil. That is always more reliable than his 40% reincarnation. Moreover, the strength of the first Hokage and Uchiha Madara has improved, and for them, they have a more sense of security. Thinking of this, the hands of the 3 generations of Hokage quickly flew up. A series of spells fell, and with the hands suddenly clasped together, the 3 generations of Hokage shouted again. The art of reincarnation of dirty earth. Of the reincarnation of 3 filthy earth exploded like a balloon. A pile of dust left behind when the soil collapses. This scene, everyone's eyes were locked on Long Yu's body. Even the dignified ninjutsu professor, the 3 generations of Hokage performed the art of reincarnation from the dirty earth, but only 40% of the heyday. Then, through Uchiha Ryu's shot, how powerful can it be? Facing so many gazes, Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose, and immediately took out 3 scrolls, and spread them out on the ground with his backhand. The next moment, his hands flew quickly, forming a series of spells. However, in the face of all this, Heiju gives a feeling of indifference. When the last magic seal in Long Yu's hand fell, an exclamation suddenly sounded. Long Yu, be careful behind the whirlpool Kushina, and exclaimed anxiously. Black shadow emerged from the meteorite, and the jet-black arm turned into a long spear, stabbing straight at Long Yu's back. Hee, Heiju, your methods are still so stupid and naive, but you think this can kill me, do you still need to summon those guys? Long Yu gave a dry laugh, completely ignoring all this. Still backhand slapped on the reel. The art of reincarnation of dirty earth slammed into the sky with 3 white mists, and soon there was a scream of pain like a ghost. Before everyone could react, the debris quickly gathered into 3 figures. 3 familiar figures suddenly appeared. Chapter 320, The Taste of Ant Bites. Madara Uchiha, who was clasping his hands with a cold and arrogant face, suddenly turned his head to look at Heiju, who made a sneak attack, and said almost word by word, Ju, we meet again. However, I'm angry now. Madara Uchiha moved instantly, and with a flick of his figure, he appeared in front of Heiju like a ghost. Muscles of the 5 fingers of the right hand suddenly tightened, and they were buckled towards Heiju's throat. The huge impact directly knocked Heiju out like a cannonball. The speed is so fast that it almost gives the impression of a comet impact, smashing down towards the rock formation 10,000 meters away. Boom! The entire rock layer collapsed and spread rapidly. The huge Gobi Desert shook violently like an earthquake. Looking at the random blow, it smashed a deep pit into the rock formation, and everyone's faces turned pale all of a sudden. This filthy reincarnation technique is far more violent than before. Haha, Madara, can't you stop for a while? The guests are coming soon. Chinsho Zujian laughed loudly, moved his body a little and said, but this kid is really good, and he can restore us to the strength of the heyday. It really is not comparable to monkeys. The words fell, making the 3 generations of Hokage look ashen. However, in the face of Madara Uchiha just now, there was no way to refute the powerful aura that burst out like a glimpse. HMPH, Heiju, I will repay this revenge later. Don't think you can escape, I have already left a space imprint on you. Madara Uchiha glanced back coldly, then immediately looked up at the sky. Humming sound of the air vibrated suddenly. The sky, which was like a cracked mirror, shattered again. The whole world went dark in an instant. Gives a feeling like the night. The vortex of space that is spinning like a black hole. At this moment, there is a feeling of being forcibly torn apart by an invisible big hand. The three waves of terror were like a tide, giving people an inexplicable feeling of depression like a mountain, and swept the world in an overwhelming gesture. The ninja in it, the pores stand up, and the spine is even colder. The violent scene made everyone's faces change dramatically. They finally knew why Uchiha Ryu only allowed the elite Kamunin to stay on the battlefield. This breath alone is enough to make them unable to rise up and fight. Even at a distance of 10,000 meters, they could still see the so-called elite Junin, their bodies trembling slightly. However, in the current situation, no one was distracted, and their eyes were locked on the three figures wrapped in the power membrane. It is probably beyond their understanding of the movie level that the three people alone have such a huge pressure. Haha, it finally appeared, you just wait to be killed. Turned out from the black pit, here it is. For him who has an immortal body, there is no way to kill him except to seal it. Madara Uchiha's attack just now was very fierce, but for him, the damage that could be caused was very little. Uchiha Madara glanced at Heiju icily, and did not continue to speak. Appearing in the sky, he is also like a great enemy. The aura emanating from these uninvited guests in front of him, but even he has to cheer up. Boy, is this beyond your budget? Shinshujujian looked at Long Yu. Long Yu raised his brows, his samsara eyes turned suddenly, and the three figures covered under the energy film looked like clearly presented in front of the eyes. Looks like luck and still, on budget. Long Yu smiled warmly. If he remembered correctly, the person who was in charge of chasing Kagaya Otsutsuki in the original novel was a peach type and a gold type. At the back, a small follower Pooh style was added. It was these three people who were summoned through the psychic technique. Haha, I didn't expect that someone would take the initiative to open this space coordinate. Is it Princess Wei? Are you enlightened? Otsutsuki Peach Style took the lead with a reckless laugh and glanced around. However, when he entered the scene, his brows were obviously furrowed. Golden Style, you can feel that the power of the divine tree is scattered in every corner of this dimension. Otsutsuki said in a deep voice. Jin Shi, as Dao Shi's follower, obviously had no objection, and together with Pushi who was behind him, he also closed his eyes. After a short while, the two of them opened their eyes in vain, and Jin Shi said in a deep voice, Master Dao Shi, the power of the divine tree has been dispersed. It seems that Princess Kagaya really did something to betray the Protoss. Having said this, Jin Shi looked at Long Yu and the others with a blank expression and said, however, the only good thing is that they seem to know that we are going to take things back, so they came here to welcome us. Is it? Was a ferocious look on Otsutsuki Peach's face, and he immediately said playfully, that's fine, so that we can carry out the task without any scruples. However, these 444 ants have powerful chakras, and the rest of the chakras have also turned into various beasts. It is as simple as a thought to collect them. While talking, Otsutsuki Momoshi looked around the arena with a smile. However, when his eyes fell on Long Yu, his pupils suddenly shrank. It's the eye of reincarnation. These words fell, even the expressions of Jinshi and Pushi changed slightly. Among the Paulownia clan, the reincarnation eye is also a very extravagant thing. It is also a status symbol. Right now, the ants they keep talking about have the reincarnation eye that is the same status symbol as them. This undoubtedly gave them a kind of inexplicable shame. Hee, what's the matter? Didn't you think that you were no different from the ants in your mouth? Long Yu smiled playfully. However, in the next moment, his eyes suddenly sharpened, and with one step, he disappeared in place like a ghost. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves, including Peach Style 33 was no exception. But after Dao Shi and the others came back to their senses, a voice ringing in their ears made their expressions suddenly change. Have you ever tried the taste of being bitten by ants? A small voice sounded. Under the splash of thunder light, the thunder saber in Long Yu's hand turned into a drill, and slashed directly towards Dao Shi's neck. So fast. Peach's style expression changed drastically. At this distance, he couldn't react at all. In a hurry, he could only stimulate the energy to spread all over the body. When the crisp metal collision sound reverberated, the splash of thunderlight was mixed with the existence of Mars. Huge impact, though without severing the Peach neck. But still let him fly upside down like a cannonball, directly smashing 10,000 meters away. The tyrannical impact force created a big hole that was bigger than Heiju's smash. Was sent flying by embarrassment as soon as he appeared on the stage. This ant bites a bit fiercely.